Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, um, I'm back in the building for another live stream. I'm doing it from good old, trusty, faithful StreamYard. We're back in the building for another stream, and we're going to be taking a look at the Andrew Tate versus Piers Morgan interview. A candid conversation that devolves into, what has happened with Andrew Tate in the past year, as you know, or if you didn't know, he gone to jail for, I believe it was trafficking, uh, amongst other things that he had been accused of. And we're just going to be going through this entire interview. I'm going to be giving my commentary, and then I'm going to also be going and listening to his brother be interviewed by Piers Morgan as well. They both got interviewed because, of course, they were both arrested for the same actual charges. So without further ado, let's begin to unpack this whole entire conversation / debate / interview from Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan.
Andrew, it's been nearly a year since we last sat down together. Very different time. It was in my London studio. And 8 days after that, you got arrested. What's the year been like for you?
It's certainly been an interesting one. I've been constrained this entire year. I spent 93 days in a Romanian dungeon, 5 months locked in my house, and now I'm restrained within the country of Romania. So it's certainly been a turbulent time.
The moment you got arrested, it was all pretty dramatic. The video came out, the world saw it, a lot of people smashing into your home. Did you have any inkling, warning that something like this may happen?
I knew it. I kept saying before I was arrested on every single podcast I did, I said, you get 2 lives in the world. The first life, they're going to cancel you. They're going to slander you. They're going to delete your access to social media so you can't defend yourself. The second life, they're going to try and put you in jail for no reason. And if you continue.
You know, it's funny because he was saying all of this, but I mean, at the same time, I can't help but think that in some form or fashion that it's somehow, some way, I don't know how it's possible, but I feel like Andrew Tate or the Tate brothers are just paying their way into getting this type of attention. I feel like something has to be there's something there that guides me to the question of somehow, some way, something is being promised or implicated to where they command some type of attention for being arrested. It's not it's a thing of Andrew Tate or Tristan Tate being martyrs or anything like that. It's just y'all are celebrities and being accused, being a celebrity. I'm gonna be honest with you when I say this. So all these celebrities or any celebrity that's being accused of anything that has to do with SA or grape or anything like that, I think in a sort of way, I navigate to the thought process of the ones that are that it's happening to. They've had it coming for a long time. Some of the celebrities that get accused of this stuff, I feel like they've had it coming for a long time. Or, you have that second thought process where a celebrity is speaking out about something that they're not supposed to be speaking out about, which the public needs to know, but Hollywood doesn't want the said celebrity to be talking about it. So it's like, well, we're going to put this on you, whether you want it or not. Even if it's not in your character, we're going to put it on you. And the world is not going to have any choice but to fall in line on the accusations that they see. And we're going to, since we control the media, we're going to control the narrative and make people argue online about whether this person is innocent or they're guilty, even though none of which the quarreling online matters, because once it's in court, that's all that matters, and that is who judges who is correct and who is not correct.
You to speak against the power, they're going to assassinate you. I knew I was on my second life. I kept saying it. I knew it was coming. I didn't know the bullshit reason they'd use, but I found out once I was in a cell.
When you were arrested, you didn't speak any Romanian at
Zero.
all, and they didn't speak English to you.
Correct.
So you were taken to a cell. You had no idea what they were alleging you'd done.
I was arrested on the 27th of December, so because of Christmas and New Year's and other problems, they couldn't even translate my paperwork for 2 weeks. So for the first 2 weeks I was in a prison cell, I had no idea why. I was given papers in Romanian. I could read human trafficking, I understood, but I was like, human trafficking who, when, what? None of this makes sense. I waited 2 entire weeks inside of my cell before I was given an English translation, and then I realized exactly how ridiculous the whole case was. Just to clarify, I am accused of helping my friends get big on TikTok. That is what I'm accused of. I told some girls I know how to post on TikTok to become.
As much as I believe in some of the ideology of Andrew Tate, I ain't gonna lie. It sounds like a lot of baloney that he's talking right now. It sounds like a lot of cap right now that he's talking. You know, I'm gonna be honest. Like, are we supposed to feel sorry for you? I mean, weren't you the one saying that like Romania is a great place to live? You know, it's relaxed over there, and you know, it's a destination you go because it's like quiet or whatever. I mean, I really believe if I go back and I look for a clip of you talking about living in Romania, you say you have like that you say valid things that have to do with you like choosing to be in Romania. And then the whole thing about you going and you allegedly being arrested for helping your friends to get big on TikTok. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that just off the basis of that's too simple of a reason to go to jail. It's too simple of a reason to be brought up on charges for something. No, man. I mean, I do distinctly believe I've heard your origin story before, and your origin story has something to do with starting a website for women who want to do webcam stuff. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that is part of your origin story.
Viral when I was at the time the most viral person on the planet, and they are saying I'm a human trafficker.
The most viral person on the planet is crazy.
Well, we'll come to what you've been accused of. It's more serious than the way you've categorized it, but we'll come to that. There is a lot of speculation that the reason the Romanian authorities knew that you were back, because you were en route, I believe, to Dubai for a New Year's Eve party, is that you were interacting with Greta Thunberg on social media, and you had a pizza in front of you which came from a well-known Romanian pizza store. Is there any truth to that?
I don't think so. I think that they know where I was. A lot of people knew where I was, and they had instructions from higher up to teach me a lesson.
Bro,
I was on my second wife.
Bro, I think it's like this. If the police want to find if Romanian public authorities, I don't know if I said that correctly. If they're looking for somebody and that person is just living their life and they're posting things online. I mean, I think that's a pretty easy way to be on their radar. I mean, I don't think Andrew Tate was hiding or anything like that. I mean, I'm sure it was not that hard to find him at all. I'm sure he wasn't running from the authorities. So I don't know where that narrative even came from. And who is Greta Thunberg? I don't know how you say her name. And that whole story, that whole part of it just doesn't make any type of sense whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense how that person is attached to Andrew Tate being captured.
And that's exactly what I'm going through right now.
There's an irony to your situation because you always said the reason you came to Romania was precisely because you thought you could avoid being in this situation.
Exactly.
Well, I loved Romania, and it's a strong Christian nation with strong traditional values.
Strong Christian
I want a life
nation.
where I'm left alone by government. I don't believe in.
There's no such thing.
To avoid that.
There's no such
felt
thing.
like Romania was a place which was very safe societally, and the government was not too interested or involved in people's lives. But things changed. Also, your freedom and your ability to speak the truth is heavily.
I mean, when you're going around saying certain things, that's number one. Number two, when you literally just said that you're the most viral man. You were the most viral man on the internet. You think Romania isn't going to pay attention to you just because you're just because you want to be left alone and enjoy the money you've acquired from different methods of making money, which also would go into your what is it, Tate University, that little community of people that you have that basically push your content all around the different social media, and it in turn makes them money because they're using your face and your likeness as a way to make money, and in turn they're not only making their self money, they're making you money as well. So I mean, I don't think it was that hard for Romania to know that, like, hey, that this guy's doing a little too much, you know?
Correlated to your insignificance. When you become large and people start listening to what you say, you soon realize you no longer have freedom of speech. And it doesn't matter where you are on the planet. If they decide you must be assassinated, you will be assassinated.
You in jail, what was that like?
Romanian jail is not English jail.
Describe it. What was the cell like?
I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to insult the Romanian justice system, which I'm still beholden to. However, it's exactly as bad as people would expect it to be.
I mean,
luckily,
jail's not supposed to be fun.
Cockroaches were not. It was also during Ramadan, so I didn't have to eat so much, which was helpful because of the situation. I think the most stressful thing about it is I had no idea how long I was going to be in there for. I was dragged from my house. I was given papers in Romanian. I didn't know why I was there. I found out why I was there, and it was garbage. I couldn't seem to get out. I could have been held for years. It's very stressful. And the best thing you can do is turn to God and train as hard as possible. I did thousands of push-ups a day every single day.
Were you in solitary in this period, 3 months?
No, I wasn't in solitary the entire time. Sometimes I was by myself. Sometimes I was with other guys, and sometimes I was with my brother. So
when you were on your own, were they keeping you in there for 24 hours a day? Were you allowed out?
No, I wasn't allowed out. There was no yard time. It was 24 hours a day, locked in a single room, probably 3 or 4 steps large, and you do nothing but stare at the wall. And How
many days did you do that for, on your own?
11, 12.
I mean, that's a pretty...
That is torture.
Grim scenario.
Seriously, that is torture.
Life's grim.
For you, always being Mr. Confident, you said, interestingly, that you wouldn't categorize what you were feeling as depression because you don't believe in the concept of depression. You and I have argued about that before. But it sounds to me, from what I've seen you say when you've talked about this, that was pretty close to depression, what you were feeling.
Life's grim. And if you want to be a superhero, you have to understand in every single superhero movie, he is losing for 80% of the movie. He's going to suffer for the majority of the movie before he wins at the end. I've always wanted an exceptional life, Piers, and I'm not a coward. And I knew that by telling the truth about certain issues, I was going to pay the price for it. So
it's not that simple. It's not that simple. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's I don't think it's that simple. I feel like it has to do with what position you are as a celebrity. It's not that simple. Andrew Tate literally got famous out of nowhere. Andrew Tate literally got famous out of nowhere, and before I don't think anybody before they knew he was a former kickboxer or anything like that knew any origin story to the guy. They just knew that he was just some guy talking about red pill, making red pill content, talking about, saying stuff about women and basically pushing the whole narrative of men and mental health within men, which, mental health and manosphere type stuff isn't bad, but a lot of people who don't like Andrew Tate focused on the women bashing things and formulate and cut down clips and made their own narrative out of that, to which, he became the most loved and most hated man at the same time, which made him the most talked about man on the internet for a little while. And they were comparing him to Kevin Samuels and, all these other red pill people, and people were even taking his own style and turning it into their own. And, it was crazy. And then he gets banned on social media, and only for him to be brought back in a capacity of where, you can only ban somebody so long from social media or, the internet in general. There's always going to be a way. Always going to be a way. And then he found his way through Rumble. So you can't, freedom of speech may be like suppressed down into the depths of the deepest dirt possible, but at the same token, it's like the internet, if there's a will, there's a way on the internet.
Deserve to be in jail, but I certainly put myself in there by telling the truth to the populace and telling the truth and living.
But when you're on your own in that cell, what were you thinking? It's a long time to self-reflect, right?
It certainly is. And I think my number one concern when I was in jail, despite the fact that my situation was dire, were my concerns as a man and all the people I have to take care of, and my children and my family and the people I pay for and all the people who work for me. And truthfully, I wasn't worried about myself. I was worried about everybody else. And I think that's the true masculine frame.
Did you get emotional? Did you shed tears in yourself?
I'm an emotional man. I think men are
shed
hyper-emotional. We just have to control it.
In yourself?
I
Piers
was
Morgan is
extremely
hilarious.
busy inside of my jail cell. I had lots of push-ups to do. I was very concerned about the people on the outside. I was trying my best to get out. It's difficult for me to answer the question because it was an interesting frame of mind. I knew that God was watching and I had to perform. It's very difficult for me to go through life saying, I'm the top G, I'm this, I'm that.
Man is a robot.
Mental resilience and mental toughness. And then the second I'm thrown inside of a solitary confinement cell, cower out. I'm not that person. There's some other people who talk about mental toughness and want to give advice. And when bad things happen to them, they end up addicted to prescription drugs. I'm not a coward and I'm not a liar.
No, but it would be.
I mean, he's right about that. He's right about that. That's true. That's true.
And there's no shame in admitting that.
I was emotional. I missed people. I missed them. And I knew they missed me. So I felt a strong sense of missing.
But you cried.
There were tears that ran down my face, but I did not cry.
Oh God. There were tears rolling down my face, but I did not cry. Piers Morgan was like, that's crying. Like the most unserious moment in a damn interview. Oh, that even made him laugh a little bit. That's funny.
you're worried about admitting that? You think it sounds
Absolutely not. That's a perfectly fine scenario to cry in, but I think the act of crying is an act of desperation. To
Come on, man.
To cry is an act in and of itself.
Get the hell out of
Do
here, Andrew
push-ups,
Tate.
thinking of your children, with tears running down your face, but you're concerned with finishing as many push-ups as possible within that day. I do not.
That's something I never really cared for, because I know it's a character, but that's something I've never really cared for out of him. Like, come on, man, be realistic with yourself, bro. You cry. You have cried before. You have cried about something, bro. You have been emotional about something. You have gone through something that has broken your mental stratosphere, man. Like, there's no way you're telling me that you have never once felt an emotion that made you say, damn, I can't take it. Like, sadness, fear, anger, these are all emotions, man. And there's nobody on this earth, no matter how much faith you have, how much of a positive attitude you have, no matter how much of a good person you are, there is undoubtedly an emotion that kicks you to the curve and steps on you. Whether he wants to admit it or not. I know, like I said, this is a character he is playing. Just like the same way Charleston White is a character. It's a character. He has cried about something. He has been angry about something. He has been sad about something. He has been overwhelmed by something. There's no scenario in this Andrew Tate or Tristan Tate being in jail where, come on, you was in that cell crying, bro. Keep it funky, keep it real. You was in that cell crying to God, saying, "Hey, I don't know what to do in this situation." I don't like. How do I cope with this? That's just something I don't care for with Andrew Tate, the person.
When you found out what they were alleging you'd done, sexual assault, exploitation, and so on, what did you feel about that? What was your first reaction?
My first reaction was, the standard playbook. The standard playbook for anybody who speaks up against power is sexual exploitation. Isn't it the normal one they go to? Can't we name like 10 or 15 people right now they hit him with this exact same
It's right, but it's not right.
A full-grown man who's 36 or 37 years old who's not had sexual relations.
It's right, but it's not right.
Past. And the way the Matrix works is they lie by omission, right? They just hit Russell Brand with it. I think they hit P. Diddy with it this morning. Julian Assange just got hit with it. He's still in a cell.
But lots of people get hit with these.
I mean, lots of people do get hit with it, but all those people have one thing in common. They're all celebrities. It would be different if it was like it would be different if somebody who was a community activist got accused of sexual assault for speaking up about something. A community activist is different from Diddy or Russell Brand. Why? Because Russell Brand is a movie star and a comedian, and a whole bunch of brands are subscribed to his likeness and want to pay him to do commercials for them and everything like that. Diddy is literally a face and a force in music, whether it be R&B, hip hop, pop music. He is a force within music. Andrew Tate is literally a force within the internet. Come on now. There's a difference. That I'm not gonna sit here and say there's no such thing as some celebrities having targets on their back, but I mean it's a different ball game when it's a nobody versus a celebrity. It's a different ball game. Like when a celebrity comes to themselves and starts speaking up about something, that usually means that they were going along with something that they're speaking up about all of a sudden. Like, now that you see all this stuff about Diddy with Cassie and everything like that, that usually means something was going on where Cassie was going along with something. Andrew Tate is speaking up about something. Andrew Tate was speaking up about some things. That usually means he was going along with something that he was speaking up about, that he's all of a sudden now speaking up about, or something that he's seen that he had to act like he didn't see, or Russell Brand being hit with SA things, and whatever he spoke up on is probably something that he was going along with. You know how you've heard the whole saying about the go along, get along gang. Come on, man. Don't sit here and act like whatever you spoke up on you didn't see and just turn your shoulder or turn your back on and act like you didn't see. Come on now.
Allegations, and it turns out to be true.
A lot of people get hit with them and they turn out to be false.
Yeah, but you're sort of trying to make out all the people you just named are innocent. You don't know that.
Of course I don't know that, but a lot of people get hit and it turns out to be false.
Why would you assume they're innocent?
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you why. Because the way the Matrix operates is it chooses something which is heinous. If they accused me of drug dealing, nobody would care. They choose something which is heinous, so the process itself is a punishment. So they damage your reputation throughout the process, regardless of whether it's successful or not. Then
that is true.
Is they lie by
That's true.
They throw you in a cell and they
call that's
everyone you've ever interacted with. 2,000 people I know were called, and they were looking for one person to say they're a victim. By the way, they failed. They did not even find one. But if they did, they would then say, Andrew Tate's victim, he's a sexual assaulter, and they would remove the testimony.
It is pretty, I ain't gonna lie, it is pretty crazy whenever, because we're going through a string of them right now. I mean, I was gonna do a podcast, which I'll do the podcast at a later date, but it's like each and every time there's a SA case, it's usually a man in Hollywood that gets accused of SA or grape or misconduct. I don't really think I have ever heard of a celebrity female being accused of SA or grape or anything like that. Maybe because it wouldn't gain any type of traction. That's number one. Number two, nobody believes a woman is doing anything of that sort. So it's better to just I'm not saying any of the celebrities are innocent or anything like that, but it is kind of crazy that each and every single time it's always a male who's getting accused of a celebrity male is always getting accused of SA or grape or anything like that. Like, I remember there was a year, it was probably 2015, where there were so many SA cases against celebrity male celebrities. It went from, I seen one for Morgan Freeman. I seen one for Samuel Jackson. Like, bro, I seen one for, there were some that came out to be like actually true, but a lot of them were just, it's like they went in a line and they just went down a list and just started like throwing darts at a name and saying, hey, yeah, we're gonna make this person, we're gonna say that this person was this, or we're gonna find a victim, we're gonna find somebody to be a character and say, hey, this person did this to me. Like I said, I'm not saying that every single person that was accused is innocent or anything like that, but I mean, you do need to like show like relevant facts, instead of just like it like the year Cosby was accused, there were like literally almost like 300, 500, like almost 500 to 800 people that stepped forward to like say that he had did something to them. I mean, at that point in time, it's just like it was that many people, and I was like, I don't believe it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I still till this day, with him being out of jail right now, I still don't believe it. And all of the cases where it was all the way back in like the 60s and 70s, they were all partying together. Like these women, that were these women that accused him during the time of these wonder drugs and these whole entire times of like just the free-mindedness of being at a party and women and just people in general doing a whole bunch of stuff that would literally be looked down upon today. I mean, it's like, well, it's like some of these people were engaging with each other. And there was no NDAs signed or anything like that, So, but yeah.
People who said I'm a very nice man, lie by omission, and then they put together this entire package, use the mainstream media to convince the world that you deserve to be in jail, and that is how the Matrix operates.
I mean, to be clear, I don't know if you're guilty or not.
I do.
You're perfectly entitled to say that.
He said, I do.
Know, right? Of course I know.
But I don't know, and I will await any trial that comes to see what comes out in the trial and see what happens, right? So I'm not going to prejudge the trial. I'm not going to judge you and say, I think you're guilty. I don't know, right? We are where we are. You've been charged with serious crimes, and it's likely you'll face a trial, and we'll see how that all plays out, obviously. Going back to jail, how are you treated by other people?
Everybody in jail was extremely apologetic to me. All of the staff, the police officers, everyone who worked in the jail, the person who served me my meal, everybody was very sorry for what happened to me. They made it very clear they knew it was garbage, and they were apologetic. That was the only vibe I could give you. They were kind of like, listen, you got too big. I'm sorry. This is how things work. And sorry, here's your meal. Nobody had any real problem with me. None of the prisoners had a problem with me.
Did you get into any fights?
There was a couple scenarios where violence could have occurred, but I think once people realize that violence is a certainty and that you do not operate under a fearful realm, they often aren't so interested.
So people threatened you?
I wouldn't say they threatened me, but they would have liked to have got the opportunity to threaten me.
It's like he's not in. It's like he's lost. It's like he doesn't his reality is not the same.
Because you don't speak Romanian, so
I didn't. You're right. I actually used a quote from Street Fighter. I said, I quoted Dowson, and I said,
Street Fighter, really? Okay, he's trolling now. He's trolling now.
And they looked at me like I was completely crazy, and they walked away.
There's more than one person. Correct. And they made it clear that they wanted to.
I have to be careful what I say because I'm still beholden to the Romanian judicial system.
Yeah, but that's just an incident in jail. That's
correct.
Nothing to do with the system.
An incident report was written, and it's better I don't mention it.
But there was a direct threat to you.
I've had threats, yeah, and I have threats every single day of my life. And I think jail is a hyper-pressurized version of reality. And you need to have an extremely strong mind so you don't attack yourself, and an extremely strong body so others don't attack you. And I understood that there was a threat of violence at all times, and I just decided to go through life extremely respectfully, but make it clear if that's a decision somebody else wants to make, that I'm prepared to partake.
One of the things I would think about, other than my family, immediate family, but one particular member of my family, if I found myself in jail, would be my mother and what she would be feeling and what she'd be thinking. She's been incredibly supportive to me. I know yours has to you. Did you think about your mother?
I was extremely concerned for her. I was concerned because the media establishment were hounding her. She was obviously very worried, but she knew she raised strong sons. But we're her number one protectors, and I was concerned for her. I wasn't concerned for myself in jail. I didn't even suffer in jail as much as I did when I got out. I didn't have nightmares in jail. I had nightmares once I left jail. I was in the middle of a battle. I don't think you get PTSD while you're fighting. You get it afterwards. I was in the middle of a battle trying to make sure that everybody I love and care about is taken care of, and trying to make sure that bills are paid. Please understand, the day I was arrested, which is a year ago, every single bank account that I have was frozen. All of my assets were taken. I haven't had a dollar of money.
You had 10 cars taken, I think.
15.
15 cars and how many properties?
15 cars, 6 properties, 20 diamond watches, gold bars, cash, land, every single bank account, millions and millions.
What was the total value of everything they seized?
16, 17 million.
Wow.
Yeah. And they took all of it. And I still don't have access to any of these things.
I mean, as we're doing this interview, you're expecting to hear
he
sometime
broke.
today as to whether you may get those possessions back. Is it all or nothing? Do you get it all back or nothing?
Correct. As we sit here, the judge is deciding whether I get all of my items returned or I get none of them returned. And truthfully, under the law, I should have never had them taken in the first place. So we're going to see what the judge decides. And I have to put my faith within the Romanian judicial system. I have no other choice. I'm not a coward. I'm not going to run. But let's not talk about the Romanian judicial system. Let's talk about the judicial systems of the world. I've recently seen some very scary decisions in America and England and these Western democratic nations. You see people doing 20 years for attending peaceful protests. So you start to sit and wonder when you're in these situations, what is a trial? What is a judge? What is this? These are just people in a room.
Which peaceful protest are you talking about?
There's been a few. And
well, who's got 20 years for attending a peaceful protest?
Yeah, I was just about to ask. I'm like, who went to jail for 20 years for a peaceful protest? They might, those people who do protests might do like a day, 2 days, 3 days, like tops maybe in jail, and then they get bailed out. So it's like, what is he talking about? What is he referring to? And then I think now he's getting into a tangent that has to do with like, why is there even a judicial system in the first place anyway? Which, I mean, you need I'll agree that, the judicial system here in America is garbage. But I mean, you need these things because, like, innocent until proven guilty. There are people right now in jail who are in jail for no reason but for the justice system to make money. A typical justice system who will throw somebody in jail and the evidence is right there and the evidence proves that they didn't do whatever it is they're accused of, but they still put some of these people in jail.
I don't want to say names. I saw it somewhere on Twitter. Somebody attended, I think it was a pro-Trump protest, and they ended up getting 20 years.
Well, if you're talking about the January 6th riots, they were riots where people died.
Well, it's interesting.
They're not peaceful protests.
Well, it's interesting because
if he's talking about a pro-Trump rally, then dog,
huge mob of
what
people.
I tried to do,
dog, those people at any one of them rallies deserve to go to jail. They deserve to go to jail, and especially anybody from that January 6th stuff. They deserve to go to jail. They deserve to go to jail. Those are the same people who ridicule people who do, and I don't subscribe to BLM or anything like that. Those are the same people who will say, those people who do BLM protests need to go to jail. Meanwhile, turning around and doing the same exact thing that you see the people do at BLM protests. You do the same exact thing. Like, you literally deserve to go to jail if you're obstructing justice. Matter of fact, there's nothing worse than actually going to the White House and like literally trying to tear the White House up. There's nothing worse than that.
U.S. campus.
Well, what I try to do is I try to look at a broad spectrum of events, and I try to put things into a nuanced view, and I don't try and take a instant black or white point of view on things. And the fact that BLM were rioting and destroying the entire nation for months.
I keep forgetting he's a Trump
And then
supporter.
some other people got together with an opposing political view and are facing serious prison time for doing less damage than BLM did. I find that kind of scary because
people did die.
Well, in a democratic nation, we should all be the same under the law.
Just to be clear, on January the 6th, people died.
People died during BLM.
Exactly.
I mean, there are certainly inconsistencies in the way groups of people have been policed. I think that's the same. That's the same whether you're talking about the BLM marches to the pro-Palestinian marches and so on, right? There's a lot of inconsistency.
Well, then we agree.
There's a lot of inconsistency in global policing, I think. I think that's a perfectly valid thing to say. But the idea that someone's got 20 years for being in a peaceful march is not true. The ones who've got the lengthy prison sentences have been held account for serious crime.
I'm not even condoning January 6th. I don't even know the ins and outs of January 6th. I wasn't there. I'm not saying it should have happened. What I'm saying is exactly what you have said. There seems to be some massive inconsistencies in global policing now. So when you end up in a position where you're speaking against the system, as I do, and you understand that there are massive inconsistencies in policing globally, you
I
start to
don't
sit-
like, bro. There's so many things in the world going on, Andrew Tate. There's so many things in the world going on, and you think everything that you're saying hasn't been said already? Like everything that you have said has been said by somebody else. You're not that special. I mean, I rock with some of the things that you say, like I said in the beginning, but like you're not that special. There are people who have there are what you have said is literally copy and paste from somebody else. Somebody else has said the same exact thing that you have said. That don't make you special, bro. Like, come on.
down and seriously wonder if you stand a fair chance of a fair trial.
Come on now.
In any country on earth. I actually have to give out massive credit to the Romanian judicial system because a judge one day sat down and said, why are these boys in jail, and let us go. I don't know if I would have had a fair shot like that in many other nations.
When you were released from jail after about 3 months, what was that feeling like?
My brother and I were in the same cell at that time. We were extremely happy. I remember using the last of my mouthwash. During the day, I had some rituals to keep me sane, and I'd enjoy one swig of mouthwash a day. It's amazing how bored you get when you're staring at cockroaches, and even that sensation.
So there were literally cockroaches in your cell?
Correct.
How many at any given time?
At night, there was a lot.
Like what, dozens? Or?
Yeah,
this man.
There was an infestation. We did our best to kill as many as we could. They kept us entertained, but they're annoying to sleep with. But mouthwash was something I enjoyed every day. The sensation of mouthwash made me happy, and I remember using all of my mouthwash.
Bro.
And then instantly my brain started turning to all of the things I need to do. I'm a man, I have responsibilities. For 93 days, I wasn't working. I started concerning myself with, okay, I'm about to get out of jail, thank God. I'm gonna leave. Who do I need to take care of? What's paid? Do I have any money left? Are bills due? Is mom okay? Are my children okay? And I just started thinking about work. And as soon as I got out, I didn't sleep for 3 days.
How many children do you have?
That's confidential.
Why?
Because I have enemies, and unfortunately, I do not want to give them any information.
But you have more than one.
I have more than one, correct?
Right. So
I didn't even know you had
you're caring
kids.
for your children. I understand that as a father, right? And obviously, and you have a partner?
Yes.
Are you married?
No.
I think I asked you last time, and you were a bit cryptic.
This-
You're not married yet.
No.
You have a partner who's the mother of your children.
Bro, he's
Same
trolling.
as the mother of all your kids.
It's confidential.
He ain't got no
Say
kids.
confidential.
It is
This
confidential.
man don't got no damn kids,
You
man.
marry and have kids with is
He
confidential.
don't got no kids.
For me.
Really?
Of course, I am basically #1 enemy of the state, Piers. Look what they've done to me. What have they put me in jail for? At the beginning of this garbage, people were sitting there thinking, maybe he's a human trafficker. It's been a year. Who? Show me a picture. Show me a video. Who's even a victim? There's nobody. The whole thing is made up.
Well, we're going to
Piers.
come. Well, we're going to come to.
I mean,
what they say you've done. Right? We're gonna come to that. I'm just
I
curious.
don't know about that, Andrew. If you go, I mean, a simple Google search. There's a simple Google search you can do to go find any type of file, any type of audio, any type of anything that has to do with you in this case, and it's literally it exists online. Like I believe I saw a Abba and Preach video where they were like looking at a piece of audio or a transcript or something like that that had to do with like phone records that was pertaining to you in that case. So I mean, it's a simple Google search. That's all it is. I mean,
Curious. You come out of prison. You've got no ability to access any of your assets. How have you been functioning financially since then?
I believe in prayer and I trust in God.
Well, prayer doesn't pay the bills.
And I do my very best.
But prayer doesn't pay the bills.
wow.
Unfortunately, absolutely everything I own was seized by the
Disrespect.
Romanian state, so I'm just going to have to survive and do my very best.
Yeah, but how?
I'm doing my very best. Piers.
Have you got wealthy benefactors helping you?
I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie.
I wish I had
It is a
some
little
myself.
weird for him to say like, "Hey, I'm broke. They took all my money and everything like that." I don't know. It's just a little weird for him to say that he's broke. But I mean, he don't look broke. You know, he looks like a wealthy person to me right now. If that's what a broke person looks like, then I want to be just as broke as he is.
If you can't function on no income at all.
Seems you can.
How?
I'm doing my very best, Piers.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does
I'm
that
doing my
mean?
very best. Absolutely everything I own is taken by the Romanian state. I don't have anything they don't have.
How do you pay for food?
Just have to do my best.
What does that even mean?
What does that mean?
It means that.
What does it mean, for real?
Well, God's not going to pay your bills.
God has been paying my bills so far, it seems. It's amazing how far faith can take you. It's often when you have absolutely nothing left, people turn to faith, but you should turn to faith first, and you should believe in God when things are good, and then he will be there when times are bad.
Initially, you were put on this sort of rolling 30
I don't know if he's being serious or if he's being.
They kept renewing that month by month by month.
Trolling.
And then in June,
on that one,
you and your brother and 2 others were formally charged with rape, trafficking, and forming an organized crime group to sexually exploit women. And there were 7 alleged victims named in the indictment. You said at the time, I look forward to being found innocent. You said earlier, who are these women? Well, there are 7 named in the indictment.
Yeah, have you seen the videos of them on the internet saying we're not victims? They made us be victims. We told them.
Well,
we
that will
weren't
all
victims.
presumably be analysed in a trial. Do you know when the trial may be?
I have no idea. It's going to
Do you believe it will happen?
I'm not sure. It could get to a point where a judge, anytime before the trial, decides his case is garbage and throws it away. If you ask me what I believe happened, it's very simple.
I doubt that.
In a jail cell, knowing they had no case, knowing they had no victims, but they thought if they plaster me all over the MSM and they say that I'm a bad person and they call enough people, they will find the case they want. They couldn't find it. You name the date they charged me. They had 6 months to charge me. Usually the Romanian state, even the American embassy confirms to me, charges within 30 days. With me, they used all 6 months trying to build a case and find actual victims of an actual crime. They couldn't. They charged me on the very last possible day they could, unless they'd have to drop the entire case. And they charged me with garbage because they have nothing. There are no victims. I've done nothing wrong. And they've tried very hard. And let me say something very pertinent to the audience here. It's very difficult when you're thrown inside of a jail cell. You do not have access to social media. You do not have
like I
access to
said,
the entire MSM establishment.
a simple Google search.
Hotlines are set up saying, if
simple Google
search hurt you, call this hotline. You're a rich person where people may want to get money from you and exploit you and extract resource from you. And they're sitting here calling anyone you've ever known. They called my gardener's daughter, who I've never even spoken to, asking if I've ever done anything wrong to her or said anything wrong to her, trying to find victims of a crime that don't exist. It's actually a miracle from God that no one's come out trying to extract money from me. Whole thing is garbage. They could do this to anybody. Piers, they could do this to you. They could put you in a cell, put all over the media you're a sexual exploiter, and for 3 months talk about how bad you are when you can't defend yourself, and call everyone you've ever interacted with. And if anybody you were ever rude to once decides they want a payday or some fame, they can use it against you. It's insane.
The Romanian authorities' prosecution files accuse you of using verbal and physical abuse to keep women in line, taking 50%, I believe, of the women's online income, although I believe that figure could vary, could be up to 80%. Is that right?
No, they accuse me of exploiting women who did TikTok. The same women who say we were
okay,
not
that doesn't that I don't know why he keeps going back to that, because he literally said that he literally said that the way he came up is he started like a website for you know, corn, like a website for corn that women can use to, you know, do live streaming shows of that nature. That literally is part of his origin story. If you go back, you could literally go on YouTube and find that actual footage of him. I mean, maybe it's off the internet now, but there's his origin story literally has that in it. It's literally in there. I don't understand what the pushback. I don't.
If you want to talk about it, there's
I don't
not
understand what pushback is on that
transfer.
one.
There's not a single piece of evidence for any money. So I'm accused of making money from TikTok, but they haven't found any money. There's no money, and the victims are saying, I didn't exploit them to do TikTok. The whole thing is a joke.
What is, I think,
file, if you want to talk about it, there's not a single bank transfer. There's not a single piece of evidence for any money. So I'm accused of making money from TikTok, but they haven't found any money. There's no money, and the victims are saying, I didn't exploit them to do TikTok. The whole thing is a joke.
What is, I think, problematic for you is the war room, which was a group
miscategorized and misunderstood.
It was called the war room.
Correct.
Okay. And it had a lot of people who were dubbed the generals, who ran the war room
Correct.
for you. And the war room had 500 to 600 members who paid, I think, $6,000 plus to be a member of
Jesus,
this.
$6,000.
When you saw the logs of the web chats between people from the war room to each other, a lot of it made disturbing reading. Were you disturbed by it when you read that?
Firstly, a lot of that is bullshit. A lot of that's fake. Secondly,
you think that literally those logs are fake?
Absolutely. Secondly,
but the BBC verified them.
The BBC verified them, or they're the same people who verified the vaccine. Those people, they're liars. Firstly,
were you disturbed by anything you read?
No, because none of it's real. Firstly, secondly, there's 4,000 members in the war room. Thirdly, the war room is about masculine personal development. We talk about fitness, making money, strength. We talk about very important things. There's 4,000 members inside. If you're telling me that amongst 4,000 members with 24-hour chats 7 days a week for the last 5 years, they managed to find 2 guys talking locker room talk, and that somehow offends the world, then nobody understands how the world works. That's not why I was in jail. It's nothing to do with the war room. I was in jail because I spoke against power, because I told the truth about COVID, because I told the truth about the war in Ukraine, because I told the truth about all of these things.
I don't understand.
You know how many people talk. You know how many people talked about the jab, and nothing happened to them. How many people talked about the jab and nothing like really happened to them? Ice Cube talked about the jab. Aaron Rodgers talked about the jab. Nothing happened. Nothing happened to Ice Cube or Aaron Rodgers. I mean, what? Kyrie Irving was talking about the jab, and then they started doing stuff to him. Who else? There were a plethora of different celebrities that were talking about the jab. And or 19, as I'm just gonna call it, because I don't want that to be, flagged in this live or anything like that. But there is a plethora of people who talked about the jab and nothing happened. Nothing happened. So that whole entire spiel that he's going into is a false narrative. It's a false narrative that he's just adding on just because of. It sounds good.
So why people would want to put you in jail for giving your opinions about COVID or Ukraine? Why would they?
Why wouldn't they?
Well, why would they? Why would they say that Andrew Tate's
opinion? Yeah, because speaking about the 19 or Ukraine,
I was Googled man on the planet, and I had
that's definitely going to get you put in jail.
Troublesome demographic for the Matrix, which is the young masculine youth. The people who you need to die in wars, the people who you need to psyop into being slaves to build the roads while telling them that they're not allowed a point of view and they're not allowed an opinion on anything. And I was saying things which was going against the narrative. And the Matrix, the way it operates is it uses the MSM to purport lies, to inject slave programming into people's brains so that we live lives which are not good for us, but are good for them. And I was sitting there unplugging it. Why would they sit there and say, we've put together this massive psyop. We're going to convince everybody to inject themselves with poison, and we're going to lock everyone in their houses, and it's all a lie. And we're going to let this one guy who everyone listens
to. Andrew, it wasn't all a lie.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't. There was a new novel coronavirus. Okay, I'll tell you what.
That's so funny that Piers Morgan has a job to do. I mean, he has a narrative to fit. He has a script to follow. So if there's any realism that is supposed to be caught in this interview, I mean, a lot of the things that like outside of Andrew Tate's case, a lot of the things he's saying are true. A lot of the things he's saying is just complete trolling and BS. But pinpointing and going back to what he just talked about with the jab, with the Matrix. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that a Matrix doesn't exist, because of course a Matrix exists. We are living in a simulation. I mean, the same, and then of course him talking about things that have to do with viruses being created and cures for the said virus that was created. I mean, it's true. It's true. You're living under a rock if you don't think that that some of this stuff is just created to fit a narrative.
I'll tell you what the facts were.
But he's trolling, though, I ain't gonna lie.
There was a novel
He's
coronavirus, COVID-19. It was killing thousands of people a day.
Really?
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
scary.
Yeah, and and I know people who died.
Who doesn't? I knew people who died before Corona.
Fine, I'm sure people died of lots of things, but it was
People
killing
have existing
exponentially thousands and thousands
conditions.
of people. And then vaccines were developed at very high speed.
And then they
in my
cashed in
estimation,
on those
millions of lives.
existing
You may not agree
conditions
with
that people
but
had.
those are
and
facts
added
as
more to
assumed
it.
by the body of scientific and medical experts in the
The
world.
body of scientific and medical experts. You mean the Matrix? I could get.
What is the Matrix?
The Matrix are a bunch of people who can come up with studies from the sky to say anything they want them to say, so they can use the MSM to purport garbage inside of people's minds. So you end up locked in your house, clapping for the NHS like a performing seal, injecting yourself with experimental poison for the 9th time. It's a lie. There was no reason to lock everyone in their house. More people died from miscarriage.
I mean, Andrew Tate, we eat, we breathe, we drink something that has a piece of poison in it all the time. We eat stuff. We eat, no matter what you eat no matter what you eat in America, everything has something in it. Versus somebody who lives all the way in, I don't know, Uruguay or Argentina, where the food is so rich. Somebody who lives in Africa, who lives in Sudan or Ghana, or where the food is rich, the food hasn't been tampered with, where the fruit hasn't been tampered with, the vegetables have not been tampered with, and things haven't been put in there. It's because we live in a society and we live in a country where a profit has to be made. The pharmaceutical company is in bed with the food industry, and they talk to each other, and something has to be put in the food to make you go to the doctor. There's nothing in America that is safe as far as food goes. As long as they keep putting stuff that we are not supposed to eat in food, you're always going to have to go to the doctor. You're always going to have to go to the doctor, and the doctor is always going to prescribe you something that maintains whatever you have, whether it be diabetes, whether it be high blood pressure, so on and so forth. Notice how I said maintain, because whenever somebody catches one of these things that is caused through food, they give you stuff that maintains. They never give you stuff that cures you of high blood pressure, that cures you of something diabetic, and so on and so forth. It's because they have to make money. The dollar makes the world go around.
Cancer appointments than anyone ever died of COVID. People always got the sniffles before COVID, and they've always got it since. Let me ask you a question.
Hang on,
sir.
it wasn't.
Where has COVID gone?
It wasn't.
Diseases don't go away.
It wasn't.
Where's COVID gone?
It wasn't. Well, COVID strains have got milder, as indeed flu did. Flu used to
so
kill.
It's gone away.
Well, flu pandemic in about 100 years ago killed 50 to 100 million people, and it's got steadily milder over the decades.
Man, that's complete horse crap. The flu shot has been around for thousands of years. The flu shot has been around for decades. The flu has been around for decades, and it ain't nearly killed that many people. It ain't nearly killed that many people, and the flu shot has been around for about just as long. I ain't never really actually heard of nobody really passing away from the flu. Like, come on, Piers Morgan. Come on now.
This is normal medical science.
Come on, Piers
pathway
Morgan.
for most pandemics, right? So
I know you got a job to do, but come on.
Your sort of cast iron, it was all Matrix, MSM nonsense, is palpably untrue.
Well, I'll tell you why that's not untrue. Let me tell you my personal experience with COVID. I'm an extremely logical person. At the beginning, when everyone was dying, dropping dead in the streets in China, which I never saw, by the way, funny. And the Italian hospitals were full.
That's true.
English hospitals were never
That's true.
Funny. Me and my brother sat there and said, if this disease is so deadly and can damage us as strong military age males, then the world is over. So there's no point in hiding in our house. We decided to go to Sweden. On day one of COVID, day one when everyone still believed, we went to Sweden. Why does no one talk about the fact that Sweden was open the entire time? Why does no one talk about the fact they didn't have masks or lockdown or vaccines? My brother and I partied in nightclubs 7 days a week for 3 entire months while everyone in England was locked in their house.
Sweden actually had a number of restrictions.
Not when I was there. It was open.
Not as draconian as we had in the UK. And there are certainly legitimate questions to ask about the scale of our lockdowns. I think people panicked. They saw what was happening in
probably because Sweden wasn't a target
healthcare system in the world.
Sweden probably wasn't a target. That's probably
dying
why.
in massive numbers.
Like,
overrun.
Come on.
So
now.
people may have panicked.
Did you hear about the guy who died in a motorcycle crash and it was a COVID death? You hear about that one?
Well, there was certain
Downing Street didn't seem very concerned with
there
COVID.
was a long debate about people dying of COVID or with COVID. I know all that.
Because Sweden probably wasn't on their radar to test this out.
COVID was a deadly pandemic.
Test this pandemic stuff out.
It turned out a lot of older people more than young people, but they didn't know that at the time, not for a long period. The vaccine saved millions of people's lives. There are legitimate questions about some of the boosters, about some of the side effects of the vaccines, as there are, by the way, with all vaccines. But the idea that COVID is some invention by the Matrix to suppress and control its people is for the birds, Andrew. It's for the birds.
It seems the birds and
I
don't
think a smart guy like you actually believes that.
Of course,
and that's one of my problems. One of my problems I have with you is that I think you are intelligent, but I think you also adopt positions that you know are going to get the anti-Matrix mob inflamed. And it's just these all-encompassing views you have. COVID was a load of nonsense. Vaccines are all dangerous and killing more people than they say.
Never said that. I said the COVID vaccine.
Well, COVID vaccine, you don't think they worked?
No, of course not, because the idea of
course
vaccine,
they worked.
The word vaccine in and of itself is that you get...
They save millions of lives.
If you get a vaccine, you do not get the disease. They changed the definition of vaccine in the dictionary so they could continue to inject us with this pointless poison. I had the vaccine for polio. I've never had polio. You got the vaccine for COVID, and you're bragging online how you have COVID for the 8th time, but it's not that bad because you've had 6 injections. It's insane. And please understand my position. Please understand I'm a person who doesn't believe in these studies.
You're basically an experiment.
I'm a person who was in Sweden for 3 months as everyone was afraid, locked in their houses, partying at will. It was perfectly fine. They had a lower death rate than the UK.
They had a much higher death rate than their neighboring countries in Scandinavia. Did you know that?
They had a lower death rate.
Did you know that?
Piers,
Did you know that?
It doesn't. No, I didn't know that.
It doesn't matter.
Just take the L on the argument.
So you wouldn't compare them to their immediate neighbours. You'd only compare them to a country in the UK.
If you think lockdowns worked, Piers, if you think lockdowns,
I think lockdowns.
Listen, let me tell you something. The lockdowns that were happening didn't do nothing. Because here in America, here in Texas, bro, the Texas government made one of the biggest mistakes that any state could ever make, and that was to open up the state, because money had to be made, and it was one of the worst decisions that could have ever been made. So I get what he's saying on the lockdown thing. Lockdown. Like there are states here in America who let their unballed their fists and went light on the restriction of opening up their state, and things happened. People passed, people. I mean, and it's in a sort of way, people were frustrated and people forced themselves out of their house and, went outside, even though we were told not to go out. And, mayors and senators and whatnot, went against people's safety, went against, people's health and safety in order to get certain people back working.
An immediate panic move, which it was before there were vaccines. The moment they had a successful vaccine program that worked, then there was no justification for further lockdowns.
You're a very important person, and you're very well respected.
I'm not important. I'm a journalist.
No, you're very important, and you're very well respected within the UK, and you've been famous for a very long time. Were you invited to the party at Downing Street, or were you not in that?
No.
No? That's a shame.
And I thought the
Because
behavior.
they seemed very concerned about COVID on the TV,
And by the way,
they
I
didn't seem
thought-
to give a shit as
and
soon
I
as the
thought-
TV was on.
I thought that was disgraceful. And I thought Boris Johnson and the people working at Number 10 who were having those parties, when I had friends of mine who were literally saying goodbye to their mothers on FaceTime on their phone because they weren't allowed in to see them. I knew people in care homes where it ripped through and killed a third of the people in the home in 2 weeks. And the desperation that people felt. I had a cousin who lost his father who couldn't go and see his dying wife and so on.
It's disgusting.
There were terrible stories.
It's criminal.
Terrible stories.
It's disgusting. So let me ask you a question as a professional, because we're both adults and we're both very smart. As a professional, which is more likely, that the government believed COVID was deadly and everybody should be truthfully afraid and locked in their houses, but because they had this spirit inside of them and they couldn't resist the idea of a party, decided to risk their lives to party, or they lied on the television trying to scare everyone and enslave them and lock them in their houses, knowing it's garbage, knowing it's a lie, and not caring, and had a party behind everyone's backs so they didn't think they'd get caught? Which one is more likely as a professional, as a logical human?
Why don't we just agree that they were a bunch of rank hypocrites, stupid people who were behaving utterly selfishly, to the extent that the Queen, when her husband, Prince Philip, dies, is in the church on her own in a mass with none of her family around her after losing a rock of 70 years. And it turned out the night before, Downing Street had, I think, 2 parties, including a karaoke party. I think that was shameful and disgraceful.
Well,
we can agree on that,
We
right?
can agree on that, and we can wake up and start to realize, oh, maybe the government doesn't care about us. Maybe the government lies to us. Maybe they tell us things and try and scare us, but they don't actually care themselves. Maybe all they are is hypocritical, self-interested people.
Maybe they are.
Maybe
It has always been
maybe
that
they use
way.
the MSM to purport their lies.
That's the beauty of it all. It has always been that way.
Of itself. And if you speak
This is
against
nothing
them, people
new.
listen to you. I'll repeat this.
It's
Your
nothing
ability
new.
to speak freely is directly correlated to your insignificance. If you're as big as I was, the most Googled man on the planet telling the truth, you will pay the price, Piers. And that is why I was locked in that cell. And I do not regret it, because I live true to God. I'm not going to sit here as a coward and not tell the truth to people for as long as I live until they put a bullet in my head.
Let me ask you about the lover boy method. So the suggestion is that you and your brother and others, but let's talk about you, that you deploy the lover boy method, where you would make women fall in love with you. You would then persuade them to do webcam stuff, right?
TikTok.
Okay, but wait, let's call it webcam stuff, right?
No, let's not call it that. The indictment is about TikTok.
Okay, what would you make the women do? Or what would they do with you?
I don't make anybody do anything.
Okay.
In fact, let's talk about the lover boy method. So it's very interesting. Let's imagine the Matrix is pissed off with a said individual who's telling too much truth and everybody is listening to him, and they decide they're going to attack him with sexual
Why does he keep going back to I'm telling the truth and that's why they're attacking me? That's not why they're attacking me, bro. That's not that. I refuse to believe that it's only because he's speaking out about various things that we as people already know, and these are things that have been said by other people. These are like it would be different if it was like one of those things where it was like a national security breach, whereas like you're speaking out against people's privacy on the internet or something like that. That would be something that that people need to be informed about, like on some Edward Snowden type stuff. But that's not what's going on here. It's like he's speaking out on like conspiracy theory type stuff, and that type of stuff is stuff that people already have been talking about before he even rose to fame or power or whatever we're calling this right now. I keep going back to the copy and paste method, because there are people who have websites and blogs and YouTube channels and Rumble channels and various stream channels on Twitch and Kick that are talking about the same exact thing, like on some like Rush Limbaugh type stuff, like that type of conspiracy theory and political political ideology going on with it. You know, you're not the first, and you definitely won't be the last person sitting up here talking about conspiracy theory.
He's making women do, well, we found conversations where he gave advice on how to go viral on TikTok. He's making women do TikTok, but he isn't being horrible to them.
Why does he
He's
keep
not
talking
hating
about
them. He's not
TikTok,
being
bro?
mean to them.
That's
So
what's
what
irritating
do?
me.
Let's use the Loverboy method. If I was abusive and mean, they wouldn't say Loverboy method. You know what Loverboy method means? Being nice. He was nice and polite and kind, and they really liked him as a person, and he told them how to do TikTok.
But that's not what the
He's
Loverboy...
a Loverboy.
Of
course it is.
Andrew, that's not what the Loverboy method is.
Absolutely it is.
The Loverboy method is where perpetrators woo victims with the prospect of a loving relationship until they can be forced into abusive situations or a form of slavery.
This is garbage.
That's actually what it means.
The Loverboy method is being nice to people so that you work together. Effectively, what they're trying to say.
I mean, what's that guy's name? Wasn't Ted Bundy? Wasn't Ted Bundy a very nice individual who was charming to women and lured them into ending up, unaliving people because he was nice and he was charming? Isn't that what the Loverboy method is? Minus the unaliving of people? Isn't that grooming or isn't that a form of manipulation? Come on, man.
I was nice to girls who asked me for TikTok advice, and they sang us the Loverboy method. I didn't beat them into doing TikTok. I didn't force them. I didn't threaten them. In fact, I was like, yeah, you're very pretty. You can be pretty famous.
Was there any element of coercion?
How can there be an element? What does that even mean? Let's be professionals here.
Manipulation.
What do you think coercion means?
I was coerced into this interview. You came along to me and said...
You weren't coerced into this interview.
Yes, I was.
Or don't tell me. The bullying
Piers.
MSM said, Andrew, you've got to do an interview.
No.
I'm going to fly all the way to Romania to do it.
You didn't do that. You used the Loverboy method. You said, sir...
The Loverboy method?
Yep. Andrew, this is going to be a very interesting interview. We had a good one last time. You're a nice guy. We have some interesting conversations.
I didn't say you were a nice guy.
I'm going to come along.
Wait a minute.
We're going to make some money from this interview.
Wait a minute.
Money will be made from both sides.
Wait a minute.
You Loverboyed me
Wait
and
a minute.
You stole the profit.
Just to be clear, I've had no conversation with you about this interview. And the conversations I've had with your intermediary were very professional. And I said, I would like to do an interview with you.
Were you nice?
I'm always nice.
Loverboy. You can't believe you used niceness to Loverboy me because this is a profitable enterprise and I was coerced here.
I make no pretense that I've come all the way from London to Romania to interview you because, yes, I want to do it on my show and that will clearly benefit me and my show.
Am I a full-grown consenting adult who decided to do this show?
Yeah, but you're not being coerced into doing
Am I a full-grown consenting adult who decided to do this show?
Yes.
Okay, so I wasn't coerced, correct?
But what's that got to do with what I've asked you?
Because you were nice to me and you're saying that
I wasn't nice to you. I didn't even talk to you.
Being nice is the Loverboy method, and that adults have no personal responsibility. And I wasn't nice to someone; they become your slave.
I wasn't nice to you, and I didn't call you a nice guy.
I feel Loverboy. I feel Loverboy.
Do you?
I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
You had a website, Hustlers University.
He's projecting
offering courses teaching husbands and boyfriends how to get
He definitely projected
false.
that.
The Hustlers University, which you can go to now, actually, we've changed the domain. It's university.com, is a school which teaches modern wealth creation methods. We teach people how to make websites. We teach people e-com.
Why did you call it a PhD pimping hose degree?
No, you're talking about an old video which was made satirical.
Why did you call it that? Oh, that was satire.
Of course it was. 9 years ago, the internet was a very different place. And
That's
you're going to sit here and say, oh, 9 years ago, you said stupid things on the internet.
Pimping hose degree is crazy.
So have you.
But you'd be very...
So have you, because you advocate for the vaccine, sir. So you said stupid things on the internet.
Yeah.
Life, that's how things go. It's satirical. I also said I'm an astronaut. Do you believe I've been to the moon? Because I haven't, believe it or not. Hustlers University teaches children how to make websites, and it's.
Is there only one reason I'm asking you? Only reason I'm asking you.
Hustlers University, bro. Hustlers University is literally a community of people doing stuff that you can literally easily find on the internet. You could literally easily go to YouTube right now and type in every single thing that they have there that is supposed to be a way to make money. It's literally on the internet for free, but somehow, for some reason, people are paying, what is it, $50 a month? Like, bro, I don't even understand it. And then when you really look into it, it's just like, I don't know what it is now, but before it was literally just like the method of like getting referrals and just putting up Andrew Tate's content and making money from Andrew Tate's content. That's literally what Hustlers University used to be. Like, I don't think for any split second that anybody who was in Hustlers University before was doing anything outside of like making an army of pages full of Andrew Tate's content and basically making money off of videos of him talking. It's literally what it is before, but I don't know what it is now. They might have changed that whole entire method and process.
Were arrested, that you have never categorized yourself as a pimp. You don't think you're a pimp, right?
Well, what about all the rappers? Did you ask Ice Cube if he's a pimp and a murderer and a drug dealer?
I'm not
Jay-Z sold crack.
I'm not interviewing them. I'm asking you whether you have at any stage in the last 15 years.
Bro, projecting again.
Of course, I've not been a pimp. I've said I'm a pimp. I've said I'm an astronaut. I've said I'm a cowboy. I've said I'm the strongest man in the world. I've said I'm James Bond. Throw me in jail.
Are you just
put me in jail?
Okay,
I deserve it. 9 years ago, I made a joke on the internet.
So here's my question: Are you a fantasist?
I'm not a fantasist.
Do you have a persona that's just not you?
Of course not. I am me.
Well, if you are you,
bro, this
why
is
would
a
you
character.
repeatedly call yourself a pimp and then now say you've never been a pimp?
Are you going to sit here and say that because I've once said, oh.
I'm curious whether if you're trying to say to me you didn't mean any of the things you said. So I'm asking myself, well, why should I believe anything you say now?
The same way a rapper goes on record and says that they bodied some people.
Is Andrew Tate real, or do you have a complete persona?
It's not real. It's a persona.
That has nothing
Look
to
at
do
him
with
smirking, bro.
I don't know. You tell me.
It's a persona.
I exaggerated on the internet 9 years ago for comedic effect. I'd walk into a nightclub and there'd be girls at my table, like every other man who walks into a nightclub, and I'd say, pimpin'. Oh no, put me in jail. 93 days was not enough with the cockroaches. I should go back. This is a matrix attack, Piers. Every single person, every single man out there has done things worse than I've done. In fact, I will argue, if you put 99.9% of men through the level of scrutiny I've been through by multiple federal agencies, you will find a lot worse than him saying he was a pimp on the internet 9 years ago. You will find actual genuine crime. And I've done nothing. I live true to God. This is all garbage and it's not real.
Like I said to you, I don't know if you're guilty or not.
I do. Okay. And I am not guilty.
No,
it's a matrix attack.
I want to be clear to you. I'm not preempting your guilt. I've come here with a completely open mind. You've been charged with serious offenses, but I am not going to judge you because I'm not a judge and this is not a courtroom, right? But it's interesting to me that one of the biggest charges against you is that you're a misogynist. And you've always said, I'm not a misogynist. And then last time I interviewed you,
no, that might be true.
That, maybe
because of his character.
True. But even in the last week, you've tweeted some stuff, which I'm not even sure if you're aware as you tweet this stuff, how it sounds.
Read it.
Okay, let's read. This is quite a long one.
Sure.
But I think it's important to read it to get a sense of how you view women.
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
Any woman I date does not have a job. Okay, so the woman you're with doesn't have a job?
No.
Okay. Do you date other women?
Sometimes.
And your partner's fine with that?
Obviously.
Yeah? And you're fine with that?
Why wouldn't I be?
Obviously.
Well, you think it's fine to be dating other women when you have a mother
I
and
think
a
we're
kid?
consenting adults and everybody can make their own personal
Okay,
decisions.
fair enough. Why would I be working so hard, you say, to have hundreds of millions of my woman to waste her life in slaves for pennies? No. I will give you a life you can never, ever afford. Private jets, five-star hotels, new cars, endless spending money and diamonds. You will be rich because you're praying for me every day and protecting my spirit. I work in the physical world. She works in the spirit realm. Women shouldn't have to work because being a good partner is a full-time job for a woman. Just to look good. All the beauty treatment.
And they got to stay in the kitchen. Are we in the Stone Ages?
It's a time intensive. Not about money. It takes a lot of time just to train every day and stay in fantastic shape. Shop to look amazing next to me. I know there are some men who do 100 times more than this on a daily basis, but women are not as organized as men. And achieving anything significant causes them huge amounts of stress. Yeah. They need to have.
God damn, how long is this tweet?
To waste, or they will have a mental breakdown.
True.
And do you want a woman who's stressed and angry after the commute, unshaven and exhausted? Or do you want a Barbie doll who's always smiling and saying thank you because she did her nails and brought you Prada that day? As a man, unless you're a loser, you're already filthy rich, right? You can get endless sex anyway. Girls are easy. So what can a girl give you? Happiness, vibes, always smiling. Take the edge of a stressful life. Can she always be happy if she's been working all day? No. Just to wake up at 11,
There's
gym
no
till
way
1,
this was a tweet.
one appointment, and some shopping. dress beautiful by 7 p.m. for you to finish working and tell you how
There's
strong
no way
you
this
are.
was a tweet.
No matter how
Oh my
pissed off you
God.
are, just to always be laughing and smiling and writing you little notes about how you're perfect. And just to be
Hold
playful
on.
and funny. You can't do that. if
Time
there's a-
out. Isn't a tweet like is this a series of tweets? Golly, this is one. This has to be a series of tweets. There's no way that's one tweet. The character, you can only put in like 150 characters or something like that in Twitter for one tweet.
job. So your job is being my girlfriend, and now you're a millionaire. Congratulations. Behave and aim for the promotion to wife. The reason I read all that in detail was I don't think you understand quite how that comes over, because I think that is the purest definition of misogyny I probably ever read.
Trolling.
Well, I don't think you understand. One, especially when I'm talking about the fact that women can't handle what men can do, etc. One, it's slightly sarcastic. There's a sarcastic tone.
So do you mean any of this?
I mean all of it. Any woman I'm with, I will provide.
No, he
for.
doesn't mean
So
No
I'm
any
gonna
woman
pretend
should
to-
work. They should spend all day beautifying themselves for you.
But he's got to
right? And
he's
they
got to
might be
upsell the
promoted to
character. He's
wife.
got to
This is
upsell
Your
the
job
character.
is being my girlfriend. There are hundreds of millions of women around the world who do a good day's work who still manage to be a very good wife or partner. Right?
Agreed, completely. But it's my
So
life.
why would you encourage a whole generation of young men? I mean, I've got to be honest, since our last two interviews before you were arrested, I would say every single day I have young men, teenage boys, maybe early 20s, coming up to me asking about you. It's gone on every day since I interviewed you. I'm very aware of your reach. I'm very aware of your influence. And whenever I've been asked about you, they say, what do you think of him? I said, I don't really know. I find myself agreeing with 60 to 70% of the things you say. And I do, because I think a lot of the stuff you say about empowering young men to be confident, to work out, to take care of themselves.
to have enough money to not force their woman to work.
Right. Well, that's the bit. That's the bit where when you stray into that kind of language, particularly in the detail where you reveal what you're really thinking, the kind of pathetic, soulless life you want for these women. Where does it allow for being a mother, for example?
Absolutely. That's
How does a mother
Happy
of your children
Thanksgiving,
manage
by
to
the way,
find
to
time for being a
everybody.
mother
How does
in this routine of love and devotion to you?
How does having a job give her time to be a mother? This gives her all the time in the world to be a mother. One, it's slightly sarcastic, firstly.
What do
Secondly,
you mean?
well,
Do
you
you mean
can
you
tell
don't?
by the tone.
Do you mean you don't mean it?
No, I mean it.
Well, which
But
bit?
it's slightly sarcastic.
Well, sarcasm
for
means
comedic effect.
sarcasm means you don't mean it.
No, I mean it. But it's slightly
Well, you either
sarcastic.
mean it or you don't. It's either sarcastic
He
or it's
doesn't.
not.
He doesn't mean
Well,
it.
this is the conundrum with
But
you,
it's
Andrew.
He
This is the
doesn't mean
conundrum,
it.
right?
It's not a conundrum. If you let me
does
explain,
not
it's
mean
not a
it.
conundrum at all.
You tweet-
and also,
you
what's
tweet
very
this-
interesting, I tweet this out. I get thousands of women
Yeah.
begging me, inboxing me, saying, finally a man who understands he needs to provide for a woman so she can be her best self.
Right.
This is exactly the kind of life that will allow
No,
women to
there
become a
are
mother.
definitely women that will absolutely
Yeah, those
love
are.
to
They're
be
called
So why do you,
pygmies.
treated
are
like
they
this.
misogynistic?
They're definitely
no,
called
but
pygmies.
what I think they're people who just basically, it's the old sugar daddy thing, right? They
Pygmies,
want to have
yeah.
a rich guy
Pygmy
who's going to
women.
pamper them and take care of them. They don't have to do a day's
Pygmy
work.
women and
They just have to
and,
make
Being a
themselves
good partner
and
look
sugar
good for you.
babies.
Well, so you say.
Yeah.
But it also, the language that you use here seriously diminishes women who do work. You make them out to be, well, you're not doing your job as a partner or wife. You should be doing your job, which is just to devote yourself to his pleasure and making him
Well,
happy.
it's actually interesting you say that, because I'll put a lot of the fault of this on men. Let's if you want to gender the argument, let's do that. I think that a lot of the reason why women can't live this life, if they so choose, if you're a woman who decides to work, then go to work. I don't care. But if you're a woman who decides she wants to retire, it's because she can't find a man who could provide for her at this level. Do you think when a woman marries a billionaire that she wants to go get a job in Starbucks? Because in my experience, when they marry extremely successful men, they don't want a job. I'm sure Ronaldo's wife isn't begging to go work in IKEA.
Actually,
No.
Ronaldo's wife works very hard.
She works for herself, which is different.
And her family.
Of course.
Yeah.
Which is
She's a
different.
hard-working woman. actually.
Absolutely. Because being a fantastic partner and having a bunch of children is a bunch of hard work. And she also finds the energy to have a businesses on the side. Fantastic.
But
So
you
what
don't
we're
want,
saying here,
yeah, but you don't want women to have business.
no, I'm saying if you're with a man of my stature, you don't have to work. Now, if I met a perfect woman and we were together and we were happy.
When you say a man of your stature, with respect, right now you have no income, no possessions,
Correct. I'm
and you're
completely
facing
flat broke.
serious criminal charges. I mean, I'm not quite sure what stature you think you're currently selling, but it ain't great.
Wow, wow,
It's
Piers.
a shame all those women inboxed me after I put that tweet out saying,
I've got
we
no.
agree with you. I think you should interview.
I
all
met
of
a
them for
woman
their
yesterday who, when I said I
misogynistic
was coming to interview, was immediately like, "Oh, can you put a good word in for me?"
views. Of course.
Sure, you have a.
She wanted a job.
to a certain type of woman. There's no question.
I think providing
my
for
question
a woman
is, if I was,
financially is a man's responsibility. If that means I'm a misogynist, then I'm a misogynist.
no,
I think
so you accept you are a misogynist?
No, I think a man should provide for a woman financially, completely and utterly. If she wants to work, if my partner were to say to me right now, I really feel like getting a job, it would make me happy, then I'll say work. But she doesn't have to. Her job is looking after the children, looking after me, and being as happy as possible. If you think I'm a bad person for saying, if you actually read that, read the subtext and context.
I read it all out.
Okay, good. Then you'll understand what I'm saying.
You know I did. You heard it.
Absolutely. So what I am saying is, I am a man. My life is stressful. My life is pain. I go to jail. I suffer. I have to deal with making money.
You want your wife to
have
be a stay-at-home mom.
I do all of that
basically.
so I can give you everything, but then I get to have you. Your job is to be happy. I want you to smile. I want you to look your best.
I mean, I won't deny that there are men. There are men like this in the world that don't want their women to work. I mean, you don't have to be that, and some of them aren't like millionaires or thousandaires or anything like that. They live regular lives. There are men like that that don't want their women to work at all. Just stay home and take care of my children. That's all I need from you. There ain't nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, it's the way the message comes out, you know. It's the way you deliver the message.
We're saying that I go through so much pain so that we can be financially secure. So I hope the woman I care about does not have to work a job. If that makes me a bad person, then so be it. Because all I'm saying is I want to take care of her in every single realm. I take care of her physical safety. I take care of her financial security. That is my job as a man. And if more men acted like me, you will see that the world will be a happier and better place. The women who say, I really want to work, I want a career, that's their prerogative and their decision. They're allowed to do that. But also, often the reason they do that is because they can't find a man they trust to take care of them.
No.
I've had this from women in their own mouth. If I found a man who was financially secure and as smart as you, I wouldn't be doing this garbage job either.
Nah.
Why was I psyoped into working to pay taxes when I should be having children with a man I adore?
Come on now.
It's a psyop.
Andrew.
He don't believe it. He don't believe what he's saying right now.
Listen to that and be laughing and
come on, bro.
Mocking you.
Relax.
Don't be so ridiculous. I have a job that I love. Maybe they're being paid even more than their man, right? The real world isn't the one that you categorize.
The real world is very.
You know what he's doing too. That's why he smiled.
About my life experience.
There's
my experience. Any woman I love does not have to work unless she decides.
Fine. You're the boss. You're in charge. Her job is to make you happy. Her job is to make herself look good. Her job is to work out for your benefit. Blah 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 blah. It is actually just misogyny.
Do you think a woman looking
and it's
good,
also?
Do you think a woman looking good and working out has no benefit at all to her?
Of course it does.
Okay, so it's not for my benefit, then, is it?
No, you see, but when you talk about young, no, I don't. When you talk about young men and you tell them to work out and take care of themselves, I cheer you on. Right? I want that. I've got 3 sons. I want them to feel that.
Don't you want them to become very rich and successful and have a woman who relies on them and have a beautiful family?
No, but I don't want a woman who's subservient to them.
Why is subservience? Why is
literally the tone of the tweet I read is subservience? So you did another tweet this week. Men love by telling you what to do and not allowing you to make stupid decisions. We save you from the female inclination to make stupid choices. If a man is
Piers, he doesn't speak for every man.
Listen to a man's instructions. You don't love him,
bro. He doesn't. He does not speak for every single man. He doesn't speak for every single man. He speaks for a small proportion of men, not all men. He don't speak for every. He's not the voice of reason for every single man. Just a small flock of people that follow, a small flock of men that follow him. That's the voice he's for.
Ridiculous.
Let me change the language then.
You tweeted this to 8.2 million people.
Correct. So let me say this. A father loves. Let's say instead of a man loves, let's say a father loves. A father loves disciplinarian. That's how a father will love you. A mother will say, oh, I hope you're happy, hope you're doing okay. But a father will come along and say, no, don't do this. You must do it that way. That's incorrect. It has to be this way. A father will discipline you because a father feels he knows best for you. It's the masculine essence of love. When a man loves, he shows that he cares via degree.
There is a massive difference between a relationship between a father and a child and between a man and a woman in a relationship.
Completely.
And I'm not sure you quite get that.
No, there is a difference. But I would argue, Piers, in the happiest relationships, it's a traditionally masculine role in which the man plays and provides. The female is traditionally feminine. The man is the head of the house, not in an abusive way, doesn't beat her up. I'm talking about the man being the head of the household, like I would like to believe you're the head of your household. And he comes along and says what happens and what doesn't happen because he's the man of the house.
No, that's not. That's actually not how most households operate now.
Well, then it sounds like we understand why the entire world's a mess. Because only 10
definitely
years ago,
stuck
exactly
in the 1960s,
the man of the house. And now
70s.
we have no longer any clear defined roles. There's no longer a man of the house. You want to talk about knife crime, kids doing drugs, the crime rate, all of these problems. You want to talk about all of the societal ills we face. Perhaps it's because we don't have any men in the house anymore. Perhaps we need to bring the man of the house back. And the man of the house will come along and be a disciplinarian, and he will make the set rules and the creeds of that house. He will say, within this household, we don't take drugs.
Yeah, you're definitely right. The man of the it's no longer the man of the household anymore. It's because two parents are working now. The man of the household isn't home long enough to raise his kids. He's at work, and if he isn't at work, he's at home sleeping. He's at home taking care of certain things. And then he's right back to work. Mom's not home. Moms are not home like they used to be. They work jobs too. Most of them are doing healthcare professions and driving just various jobs. And they're probably, and most of the time, the mothers are probably making more than the fathers. But that is to say that like neither one of them are home because they're out making money to keep everything afloat. Meanwhile, all the kid is doing is going to school, coming back home, and the cell phone is raising the child. The television is raising the child. Outside influences from school are raising them.
That stands for the woman I am with, the children who we have birthed. Nobody takes drugs in this household because this is my house and I'm the man of the house. So it sounds to me like we need to bring it back.
It's not that simple.
Yeah, it's all good macho stuff.
That characteristic is he stuck in as some 1950s, 1960s stuff.
Again, come back to this. We save women from their female inclination to make stupid choices.
Females are emotional.
If a man isn't giving you instructions,
now females are emotional.
Hang on.
Piers,
he doesn't love you. All this stuff is designed to, exactly as you've just articulated, is designed to make young men feel that the only way they can be successful in life is to effectively have their women under control, give them instructions that, they have to obey.
Making them sound like robots.
You'll end up in jail.
You can buy them Prada, but let me finish my point. My point is that it seems to me, from reading your tweets, even now, that you have a blind spot when it comes to how they sound. It may be that the legal problems that you're in, which might be extremely serious, and we'll see when the trial happens, but it may be that in your head, nothing you've done is remotely inappropriate, because actually in your tweets you can see there's an element there of wanting coercion and control. You want to control women. You want them to be effectively your servants, slaves, for want of a better phrase.
Slaves who get Prada and get to work out in the gym and get to look good.
But you understand? Do you understand the point I'm making?
No, I don't.
Which is in your head.
He said, no, I don't.
So much now with this macho rhetoric that you've actually lost track of how this sounds.
Here's all of the things.
Even when I read that stuff to you, I could see you looking at me, and you said, your answer is, I was being sarcastic. No. And I said, well, where? And then you go, well, no, I meant it. Well, it can't be both.
I meant it, and I said,
you either mean it, or it's, well, no, because sarcasm means you don't mean it.
Piers, all the things you've just described.
Do you accept that?
No,
you're a smart guy. You know what sarcasm means,
absolutely.
Right?
I said it has a sarcastic tone.
He's been sarcastic this whole interview.
All the things I'm saying and the things I've said are basically the way the entire world thought only 10 years ago. You may buy into the PSYOP, you may buy into the new thing.
I don't buy into any PSYOPs.
We just talked about the vaccine, sir.
Yeah, the vaccines weren't PSYOPs.
Of course not.
No.
So I believe that there should be a man of the house.
You had a polio vaccine, right?
Correct.
Why?
Because I didn't get polio. I wouldn't have a COVID vaccine, so I'd still get COVID. Plus, probably myocarditis and have a heart attack. So we believe there was a man of the house 10 years ago.
Do you think statistically more people got myocarditis by having the vaccine or not having it?
I think statistically we need to bring
You don't know, do you?
Why would I know? Why would I look at the statistics?
Why would you bother
studies
to? Why
that
would you
come from the matrix itself?
So the matrix. So every fact you don't like because it doesn't suit
It's the
your
matrix.
agenda, you just dismiss it. Matrix bullshit.
No, I'll give you a very simple way I view it.
It's the matrix.
COVID can't hurt me, so why would I take their injection?
You don't have to.
Point two.
You don't have to
They
take
tried
it.
to make us,
It's the most
including you.
unrealistic
You told
thing I've
me
ever heard
they
in
You know
my
should
why?
have
life.
the vaccine.
You know why?
If they don't have it, they shouldn't leave their house.
You know why?
That's the most
Because at the
unrealistic
time,
thing I've ever heard in my life.
scientists, and by the way, scientists is ever evolving. At the time I said that, the scientists said if you had the vaccine, it would prevent you transmitting the virus.
The matrix.
That turned out to be wrong,
because the matrix.
and they
lied.
issued updated
Because the
advice
matrix
saying
lied.
further studies said that actually you could transmit it.
Is that
And
what-
at that point, you know what I did, which you never do? I held my hands up and went, I was wrong because the advice changed, and now I would not say the same thing. That is called actually evolving opinions when facts change.
Let me give
That's
you.
actually how a civilized democracy works.
Oh, is it? We live in a civilized democracy, do we, sir? I actually would argue that point with you for a very long time. I don't think we live in a civilized democracy. Another point I want to make here: if I had cancer, or if I was at threat of a genuine disease which could actually harm me, would the NHS text me 10 times a day trying to get me treatment, or would I be sitting there waiting for 8
I think the
months
way
to even
the-
get an
I think the
appointment?
way-
They wouldn't care about me and they'd let me die.
The way
so the
the-
fact that they will endlessly text me and try and beg me to get this poison should have been an alarm bell for anybody with a brain.
Actually, I tell you what the NHS sent me. I'm a 58-year-old man. In the last few months, they've sent me one about a flu jab, which I'm going to have because I think it stops you getting flu, and flu's nasty. A COVID booster, which I won't have. I think I've had enough of those. I'm fine with that, thanks. They sent me one about having a check for bowel cancer, which I've done and came back negative, and so on and so on. The NHS texting system is for our benefit. You don't have to do it. No one's holding a gun to your head. The Matrix isn't saying, if you don't have this, Andrew Tate, we're gonna do something to you.
Do you have any idea?
You're
how
not
di-
in. You've not been treated.
I
in
don't know
Romania
about that,
by
Piers.
their system.
I literally don't know about that because after a while they said that if you didn't get the job, you can't work a job. How many people don't have the jab and are working a job currently? Not that many, because a lot of them refuse to take it. Just because of that fact right there. And then jobs started not allowing anybody who decided to refuse to take the jab to continue working. You know, they made it mandatory at the places of business, places that make money.
System because of anything to do with COVID vaccines. And your attempt to try and
I don't really think he
That's the case.
gives a damn
It's
about
ridiculous. And you know it's ridiculous.
anything that has to
have
do
any
with
idea how
the
difficult it
the
was to
jab
get
at all.
vaccinated, Piers?
I don't
Let me
think
tell
he
you from
cares
somebody
about
who
it
was
for real.
unvaccinated and traveled the world. Do you have any idea how difficult that was
Well, yes,
actually
because
to do?
countries have border controls.
Oh, because they tried to force everybody. So to sit and say they weren't trying to force, you know what they did? They said, come get the COVID vaccine. It's good for you. It's going to help. They tried to coerce you by being nice. They tried to lover boy everybody. They tried to use the lover boy
Not
method
him
to force people to
continuing
get
with his
the COVID
lover
vaccine.
boy narrative.
It just came to, we need
Nobody-
to put all these people in jail. They
Andrew-
were being nice to people,
Andrew,
trying to help them.
nobody-
Unbelievable.
Nobody forced you to have it. Did you have the vaccine?
Absolutely and utterly not, sir. My principles are not for sale. I would have stayed in my house to the end of human time and sat there as a pureblood, the last one,
Oh,
the
Andrew.
last pureblood on
Andrew.
the planet before I
Andrew.
inject myself with
You're
poison.
not making an MGM trailer.
Yes, I am, because it's a matter of principle. I am not a farm animal. My blood is mine. It does not belong to the government, and I decide what is in it.
Right. All right. So you have a polio vaccine, but not
Correct,
a COVID one.
'cause- correct.
So your brilliant brain has determined that you know more about the medicinal and scientific benefits of individual vaccines. And
He's
the
just-
polio
he's
one,
just chatting,
you decided with your brilliant brain, we'll have that. But even though a lot of people, by the way, have had side effects to polio vaccines, did you know that?
Yes, correct.
Is that the Matrix doing that?
No, I didn't say the Matrix gave them the side effect.
Oh.
I've just told you all the reasons I didn't get the vaccine.
Right.
You've already described it at length.
But you work out with your brilliant mind which vaccines to have.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
You realize
You can join my email
Correct.
list on corporatate.com. You can sign up for free, and I'll tell you which vaccines you
I
should
wouldn't
have.
come to you for vaccine advice.
Why?
And,
Facts.
because you have zero experience.
Facts. You're
I
just
didn't
saying.
get- I
You're
didn't
just
get the
saying
COVID
what
one.
conspiracy
I
theorists
honestly
are
did
thinking.
pretty good. I avoided the poison shot while everyone else got it, so I'm actually pretty
It's
proud
like
of
it's like he went on
What
Google
happens if
and
you're found
whatever he
guilty
saw
of
on
the
Google
things
was
you
what he
Well, then I'm
about
going to
conspiracy
jail, I
about the
assume.
jab is
What's the maximum
what he
sentence you
decided
can
he
get?
wanted to
I
say. in
don't
his
know.
interview.
Yes, you do.
I actually genuinely don't.
You've never asked your lawyers?
It can be between 3 to 8 years, I
Right,
think.
so you do know.
I don't know the maximum.
But if you were to serve 8 years, having served 3 months and know how bad that was, could you cope with that in a Romanian jail?
Interesting question. Could I cope with it? Yes. Would I be the same afterwards? I'm not sure.
What do you think even the 3 months did to you as a man?
Well, it was a fantastic test from God to make sure I am the man I say I am, because I think there's a lot of people who speak about masculine excellence who are not the men they say they are. When trouble appears, you often learn that they are nothing but postures. I had nightmares for a very long time. I couldn't sleep. I struggled with certain things. I would check my bed sheets every single night for cockroaches religiously. I had a problem with that. But I never turned to therapy. I never turned to drugs. I understood that all of these things are from God and they're given to me so that I can become a stronger.
What's wrong with therapy? I think I seen like a video of him talking about something that had to do with therapy and how therapy isn't real, or things that have to do with anxiety, people who go through different mental health procures and decide to go to therapy, like it's not real. He really spoke against that type of those type of things, which is weird because a lot of men need to go to therapy. Without therapy or counseling in some form or fashion from somebody who is not like a family member or a friend or something like that, then it's like you never want it. It's like whatever you're trying to heal from, you will always just like be shortcutted and underhanded in your quest to like rebuild or make yourself better. And I was kind of shocked that he was speaking against like therapy and saying it's not real, and all you need is I can't remember what he said. All you need is like you need to go exercise and all. Exercising is cool, but after a while you're a robot and you're just deflecting from whatever it is you're going through in real life.
Version of myself, and I welcomed them all and I embraced them all. And now that I'm a better, not completely, but almost better, part of me actually misses my nightmares, Piers. Part of me misses training all night. I didn't sleep for weeks.
You said you didn't have nightmares.
No, I had nightmares. I said I didn't have nightmares in jail. When I left, I did. And I kind of miss it because I had so much time in the day to get things done. And now I'm sleeping a full 6 hours. I feel a little bit lazy. So perhaps I need another test from God. And if God decides, Allah is the best of planners, if he decides I need 8 years in jail, then I will embrace those 8 years in jail and do my absolute best to come out as the most formidable version of myself.
Have you felt suicidal at all in the last year?
I don't believe in suicide. It's haram.
I know, you said that before, but did you feel like you may want to end it all?
I would never kill myself under any circumstances. So the day they put that on the news, when they finally take me out, you can know it's a lie. It's haram. I would never kill myself. Lock me in that cell for the rest of my life. I would never kill myself.
While you're under house arrest, you tweeted this: avoid women who go to festivals. They're either on some loser's table who's feeding them cocaine or in a crowd of sweaty peasants because they're a sweaty peasant. Endless Instagram stories screaming and having fun to prove to the world they're worthless. Hard pass, feisty hoes.
Correct.
Just insulted a population of women who like going to music festivals.
Festivals also. Did you read that tweet? Why are you gendering the argument? I think all people who go to festivals are stupid. It is peasantry. I've never been to a festival in my life. I'm not going to stand there and scream and jump up and down for some other human like he's God. I think the whole thing is embarrassing, all of it from head to toe. It's all sweaty peasantry and it's all just drug-fueled insanity. So why are you gendering the argument when I insult women who go to festivals? And also,
Jesus, dude, calm down. Just because people find solace in going to festivals, like why? Like, golly, it's like he's the fun it's like he's the let's not have fun police, bro. Like, damn, calm down, bro. Stepping on what people like to use as a coping mechanism to get away from whatever they have going on in their life. Like, bro, let these people live, have fun the way they want to have fun, bro. I don't agree with the thing I don't agree with is the drug thing at festivals. That's the only thing I don't agree with. But if you're going to a concert to go see said artist. I don't believe in going to festivals. I mean, there's no artist I would love to go see that much. I have to really, truly love that artist for real. And the artists I want to see, they're already passed away and not on this earth anymore. So I mean, there's no artist I actually want to go and go see. Even if I do listen to the artist, you know, there's no amount of money you can pay me to make me go sit and watch an artist in an arena or a stadium or whatever to watch them, because it's like I'm an introvert, so it's like once too much people are around that I don't know, you know, I start to get like a certain way, you know.
All of it is peasantry, head to toe, and I do not regret it. All festivals are peasantry. Anybody who goes, I do not associate with. I've never been to one in my life. I never will.
So if you've never been to one, how do you know what they're like?
I can see enough. I've seen the sweaty bodies bumping into
You've
each
never
other,
been to
high
one.
on ketamine, pretending that the song they heard on the radio at home is now
It's gonna
more
sound
fantastic
better.
because they're listening to it from a loudspeaker.
I get it, but
It's
just
embarrassing.
To be clear, you've never been to one.
Correct.
It's hilarious.
My infinite brain that understands vaccines perfectly
we've
also
established
understands.
we have established your brain is unique.
Correct.
You tweeted a picture of Amanda Holden, very good friend of mine. It's a very harmless picture. She's in a bikini on holiday under a rain shower, looking extraordinarily beautiful.
In a sexual pose.
And you tweeted, "You are a wife and a mother, and you're far past a teenager. There's no need for this post."
Oh my
Again,
God.
It's just misogynist to say that.
It's not
Why
misogynistic.
can't a woman of her age, she's just turned 50, why can't a woman of that age actually show off her beautiful body in a
I would
nice
much
bikini?
rather a
What's wrong
woman
with
call
You can
out
call me
another
crazy.
woman,
You
bro.
can
I ain't
call
gonna
me
lie.
misogynistic, but I think once you reach the ripe age of 50, any woman should not be interested in thirst trapping on Instagram. I think she has bigger responsibilities. I'm sure she's a very intelligent lady and she's done amazing things. She's famous. She's obviously very capable. And I think she could do things more interesting than standing around trying to thirst trap on Instagram like she's 18.
Because
I think she's above it. I wasn't insulting her. I was reminding her that she's actually such a fantastic person. She's done such amazing things in her life, and she's so achieved that she's actually above thirst trapping. I was reminding her of her worth because as a feminist, we're all feminists here, right? We all believe in women empowerment. I'm reminding her of her worth.
Are you a feminist?
Sure.
You're not, though, are you?
I believe in feminine empowerment, and I think feminine empowerment
don't.
isn't. Yes, I do. And feminine
He said, no, you
empowerment
don't.
is modesty. Modesty is empowering for females.
You only believe in
Taking your clothes off for men on Instagram is not empowering. It's empowering when you say, no man but my husband can see my body. That is female empowerment. And I was reminding her of that.
Yeah, a lot of females don't
her
believe
right
in that.
age and her intellect.
Definitely
And
a lot
there's
of
no need
females
for
that
How old
don't
are you?
believe in that.
I am 36.
36 years old.
Correct.
At what point will your antics, chugging your cigars in your ripped body in your compound with your security and your Bugattis?
God damn.
A thirst trap?
I don't know if that ever stops being a thirst trap.
So it's fine for you. Once again, one rule for the man,
Right.
another rule for the woman.
It's okay for men, but
Because
it's
I've
not
never
all
heard
right
this
for women.
argument before, but I'm extremely intelligent. I've already deciphered how this is going to go from head to toe. It's called, I guess we can look at peacocks, right? The male peacock, he shows, look who I am. Look what I can do. Look at my achievement. Look at my beautiful feathers. And I guess you could call it peacocking to a degree. I'm showing the world. I'm extremely physically capable. Yes, that's correct. I'm extremely financially successful.
You
yes,
stripping off for Instagram is fine.
It's not stripping off for Instagram. I'm boxing. When you box, you have no top on.
You do it all the time with your cigar and you're showing off your ripped body. That's fine for you. But if Amanda Holden dares do it, that is apparently thirst trapping.
I think me boxing with no shirt on is different than a 50-year-old.
Yeah, but
I've seen you ding ones.
Piers Morgan, like that thirst trap and stuff exists though. A man showing off his arms and his chest, that doesn't equate to being thirst trapping. But when a woman is showing off her titties or her ass or her body in general, it goes into this 50-50 mechanism of like, hey, maybe maybe this woman works out and has been working so hard to like show off her body for social media and for people that have called her out when she was like another weight or something like that. That's the latter. That's I'm gonna say that's about 20% versus the other like maybe 70% where it's like, yeah, this woman's on here thirst trapping, trying to get, these men to double tap, you know what I'm saying, promoting the OnlyFans or whatever it may be. But thirst trapping exists, Piers Morgan. I mean, just because you're out of touch with how the world works doesn't mean doesn't mean Andrew Tate is lost in the world, is lost on the things that are of our world today.
So you wander around all moody with your cigar and you're topless and stuff. So fine for you.
Are you a fan, Piers?
No,
Right?
I think it's thirst trap.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't do that.
Perhaps it's successful. Maybe you should start. Perhaps it's successful because I do have a lot of female fans out there in the world, and they pretend I'm a misogynist, but it turns out that 85% of women on the planet seem to agree with me. Every single woman I've ever met in real life agrees with me. I have no female hate at all. I've never had negative interaction with women ever.
Yes, you have.
With who?
Well, what about the BBC journalist that came to your compound?
Lucy.
Yes.
I've never had a negative interaction with a female.
I don't think she was a fan.
I think she was.
I would categorize that as a negative interaction.
Well, she seemed to follow me around for a long time. I think she was a little bit.
There are lots of women, Andrew. There are lots of women I know personally. There are lots of women who find you incredibly offensive.
I don't think so.
Right? It's their right to. It's your right to.
Of course.
It's your right to not care.
Yep.
But the idea that somehow you're this beloved person for the world's females, I think is not true. You
Comedy.
Are a certain
It's comedy.
type of woman who likes to be treated in the way that you like to treat women.
Well, let's counter that argument, right? Because the world, as I said at the beginning, is nuanced. Am I beloved by all females? No. But when I'm sat here with someone as prestigious as you, who says you're a misogynist and you hate women and women hate you.
I think you talk in a way that is misogynistic. Yeah.
Okay, well, then you make it sound like all women hate me, and that's also not the case. Of course, it's a nuanced
I didn't say all women hate you.
Some women agree with
Definitely
me.
a percentage of women that do not
when
like
I said
you.
that post about Amanda Holden, a lot of women said
Definitely
"Man,
a
that's actually
percentage of women
correct.
that don't
She's
like
extremely
Piers Morgan
famous.
either.
There's no need for her to be posting pictures like this at her ripe age. I was actually empowering her. I believe that female empowerment is in modesty.
You don't actually believe in feminism.
I believe in the idea of...
You believe in masculinity controlling women.
No.
They have to take instructions from you. They have to do what you tell them. And that is actually what love and relationships are about.
No, I believe that men and women have different roles. I believe that we were created differently by God because we are the perfect team. I believe that a man who's in his masculine frame is best suited by a woman who's in her feminine frame. I believe when we work together, we can achieve amazing things, whether it's raising children or preserving society. And I believe a man has certain jobs and a woman has certain jobs. You don't understand this about the things I say. When I said there that women make bad decisions in the tweet you referenced earlier, the point I was making is that women are more emotional than men. That is their superpower. That is fantastic. That is a great thing. I love female emotionality. In the tweet before you tried to use against me, I was talking about how I love a woman to be happy all the time, smiling all the time while I'm stressed. I love female emotionality. The reason women are better with children, reason women are better with children is because they're emotional. That is their superpower.
That's not what your tweet said.
In a position...
You're not even remembering what you wrote.
Of course it is. I said women are more emotional than men is exactly what I said. I'm saying that is a fantastic thing, but there is no light without dark. So in certain situations, the emotionality is positive. In certain situations, the emotionality is negative. We can also argue the same for men, because what happens with me is everyone tries to gender my arguments. We can actually argue the same with men. Stoicism. Male stoicism is positive in certain scenarios. It can be negative in others. We can come across as unempathetic or not care because we're stoic.
I mean, I know
but in certain situations, it benefits
I know
us.
people who've told me that their kids who are in their late teens, they're at schools where the name Andrew Tate is banned. Nobody's allowed to mention your name because the teachers think that your brand of masculinity is so toxic. They are seeing an immediate effect on the way that young men behave, and not in a good way.
Is that what the teachers think? Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I am actually genuinely concerned by the fact that I've been banned from schools when I do nothing but preach masculine strength and excellence.
Why are you allowing your child to look at Andrew Tate videos in the first place? Like that, I don't think that responsibility of him being an influence on the youth is his fault. I think that's on the people who are the parents of those children. Like, bro, take away their phone, take that stuff off of there. Like, it starts at home. It's not let's blame let's blame this guy just because he's easily a target. Like, come on.
the society is going and how the world works and all the insanity they're trying to push on all of us, I can understand why they banned me because I speak the truth. If I was wearing a wig, Piers, and lipstick and telling young boys to remove their genitals, would I have been banned from schools? No. They would have said, no, you can say his name, no problem. No matter how big I got, if I had a wig on and lipstick and I had been castrated medically, I would be allowed to talk to the young boys. But as soon as I say you're supposed to grow up and get big and strong, and your wife doesn't want a job, you need to pay for it. It's your job as a man, you better find some money. Then I'm the public enemy number one. Garbage. On that
Last point, you don't say if a woman doesn't want to work, a man to take care of it. You say a woman shouldn't work.
I say my woman won't work.
Right.
I'm talking about my personal experience. I said a girlfriend of mine because I'm in an extremely fortunate financial position. I was before Romania took everything, of course. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. So because I am in my position, I would not want my woman to work. I think there's more important things she can do.
If you have hundreds of millions of dollars, where you said you had a worth of 17 million.
No, I said they took 17 million.
So where's the rest?
They must have taken it. I think they have it. Or maybe I lost it. I think I lost it somewhere.
You've never had hundreds of millions of dollars.
Man, cap it.
Yeah,
Cap.
Of course not.
You said they took all your assets.
Exactly.
Well, did they or didn't they?
Of course, they took everything.
Man,
Well,
cap.
you're watching this.
He capped
They to
it,
assume
bro.
that there are hundreds of millions more dollars they haven't got
No,
yet.
they're
They should go
watching this.
find.
That's right. They took absolutely everything.
Cap.
Right. But again, is that all just the smoke and mirrors? Is that all just the top G stuff that you play up to, which has no bearing on reality?
I was the most Googled man on the planet.
Here you go again with this most Googled man, bro.
18
Like,
to 35-year-old males, which are the highest earning and spending people on the planet. Do you really think that I can't pay my bills, Piers?
Right now, yeah.
Okay.
Someone's paying them for you.
Correct, you're right. Someone's paying them for me, you're right. My girl's got a job. She works at Starbucks. Exclusive, Andrew Tate's girl, top G's girl works in Starbucks to pay the rent. I've been exposed.
trolling.
See, again, I don't know what to believe when you say stuff like that.
Well, I'm telling you, my friend, that the Romanian state.
I think you deployed deliberate smoke and mirrors because you think it plays up to the brand.
Romanian state have taken all of my money
For
and
sure.
I was, getting by.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening.
Do you worry about your impact on young men?
I think that
Because, like I said, I will be completely honest. I think a lot of what you say, they should be hearing.
Yep.
And I've tangible proof every day when I walk around
Yep.
that they are listening to everything you say.
Yep.
But there is other stuff you say where I don't want my sons, especially in that impressionable late teenage, to
Correct.
be listening to that.
correct, and that's a very.
And I don't want my daughter to grow up and think that actually her only success in life will come if she's at home as some kind of servant to her man.
Well, that won't be her only success, but that's a very professional question, and I'll give a very professional answer. I have a massive responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility, and I understand that young men do listen to everything I say. I do think I say good things, but you also made a very pertinent point there. You talked about the impressionable age of a teenager, and it's very easy for a teenager with their hormones and their lack of life experience to take the things I say and weaponize them and use them in the incorrect context. However, that is not my fault. You could argue that 16 and 17-year-olds can look at anything on the internet and misunderstand it. You could argue that all of this transgender garbage and all of these rappers talking about killing each other and all these drill artists talking about stabbing their enemies could be misunderstood by a 16-year-old.
I agree.
So
Oh, no,
that's
listen,
not
on
my
that-
fault. However,
On that, I totally agree.
okay, so I have a massive responsibility.
And you are held to a different account, actually, to a lot of those rappers.
Absolutely.
Right? There's no question. The fast one is when John Legend rewrote the lyrics to Baby It's Cold Outside because apparently encouraged sexual assault, but wouldn't say a negative word.
Preaching the same message about like a certain level of misogyny and a certain way of thinking versus what a rapper says. Two different things to me. It's two different things. If you're somebody who's supposed to be looked at as a role model, or you're preaching this message of manosphere versus a rapper talking about catching 7 bodies, who, by the way, we don't know if that person who's a rapper is really telling the truth about that or not, or he's talking about one of his homeboys or something that he did in the past life, and he's past that life, but he's not past that life, but he's past that life because he moved out of his neighborhood, which is probably in an impoverished neighborhood or whatever, versus Andrew Tate talking about, hey, a woman should, I don't know, a woman should not be working and all this other stuff about how you should be working out and a whole bunch of other rhetoric that only a small percentage of men will understand and only a small percentage of women can agree with, versus everybody else who is like, yeah, this guy's annoying and things like that. I mean, I don't know. I think I do agree that the youth is very easily, latched on to like not understanding a message and just just gravitating and grabbing onto something. But yeah, those are two different things to me.
About the disgustingly misogynist and actually very violent lyrics of his rap friends.
Absolutely.
That to me is total hypocrisy.
And it is hypocritical. However, unlike all of these other people, I have taken into account my massive power and my massive responsibility, and I try to make sure that I use my words as carefully as possible so they cannot be misconstrued or misunderstood. Can I make sure that no teenager on the planet who listens to me ever misunderstands me ever? No, I can't do that, but I am doing my very best. What do I actually talk about? What do I actually say? What I do is I come along, and let me give you the broad overview of my message. You're a man, so your life sucks. It's always going to suck, and it's going to be pain. You're going to do nothing but suffer. You're going to suffer as a nobody. You're going to suffer the pain it takes to become
Actually,
great.
most men don't have that.
But
that's not every man.
Because trust me, nobody suffer. Or you're going to suffer the pain it takes to become great. Life is not supposed to be a happy picnic. You're supposed to get up, work hard, dedicate yourself, get strong, get rich, go through whatever it takes to become somebody of significance. That's my overall message, I believe it's a positive.
You've got to get rich to be happy.
No.
In fact, most of the super rich people I know in life
are miserable.
Unhappy.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're selling a kind of false dream.
Well,
A lot of rich people are miserable.
Have you ever seen a rich person
And a lot of people who have very little money can be very happy.
Have you ever seen a rich person give their money away?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Do you give all your money away? Will that make you happier, Piers?
I don't.
Do you want the Romanian state to take it all? I didn't smile that day. And let me tell you that the reason I tell about men to become financially successful is for two reasons. One, because you have a job as a man to protect and provide. You can do neither of those things if you are broke. That's the first reason. And the second reason I actually preach to young men to become as financially successful as possible is a greater, broader reason. And I believe we've entered a very interesting stage in humanity where the matrix is finally cracked. 3 or 4 years ago, there were certain narratives you could not talk against. But with Elon Musk owning X, and now we have Rumble, we have a lot more information on the internet, people are starting to tell the truth about many different subjects. There's a whole bunch of them we can name. And I like the idea of people who are free thinking with a free mind, who are not matrix controlled, making as much money as possible because it takes money to win wars. And I want these people to be financially
successful. Sounds like Kanye.
That's why I tell all of my fans who believe in me to become as rich as possible because they understand that everything the government does is lie to them.
Fine.
We need finance.
You use the word truth there. I don't think it's necessarily that people want to promote truth. They want to promote their opinions. Often people's opinions are facts,
conspiracy theory opinions.
People can take the same set of facts to different opinions. Doesn't mean it's the truth, right?
Well, that's true. But
I don't believe in this my truth crap, right?
Neither do I.
But there are facts which have to be accepted. And you can have an opinion about them. You and I can disagree about all sorts of opinions, but actually not facts.
Okay, but I can argue this point. Because comes out with
there's no difference.
Countering that fact are censored and they are destroyed.
It's your truth versus the actual truth.
The only version of reality which exists to be ingested by the mind. So you still need varying opinions on all public.
Do you think that what you let's put it this way?
Sure.
You would have relationships with women and encourage them to take part in webcam sexual stuff? Well, actually, yes.
Why are we going back to this?
Because there's one question I want to ask you about it, right? And both sides made a lot of money, right?
Okay.
And in most cases, because they haven't complained in most cases, you would assume it was a mutually beneficial transactional relationship, right? I can assume that because thousands of women have been through this and most of them haven't come forward and complained about the way they were treated. It was transactional. But was it moral? Do you think what you've been making money from, park the illegality aspect to one side, do you feel it was moral?
10 years ago, I helped women promote their profiles on the internet. Correct. 10 years ago. Firstly, I have not been involved with it for 7 years. It's not how I make money. I haven't touched it for a very long time. 7 years is a long time.
You made a lot of money from it.
I made some money.
That was an origin story.
How much?
Some money. I can't even remember.
Millions? Millions.
Perhaps.
Millions. You made millions of pounds.
A long time ago.
Well, hang on. It's important. You made millions of pounds from sexual webcam activity where you and the woman doing the webcams would make money. You accept that?
No. What I did is...
Well, that is how you made money.
No. A long time ago, and I talked about this at length on many different podcasts,
Yeah.
and I don't hide it. I said a long time ago, 10 years ago, I helped women with the tax side and the technical side and the promotion of
Well, they
their
work for you.
profiles. Of the promotion of their profiles on certain websites. And I said about this, and I said, I haven't been involved with it for 7 years. The only reason this is even coming up again is because I'm monumentally famous, because nobody cares. We're in
Well, no, it's not.
Piers,
It's
we're
not.
in Bucharest, Romania. Do you understand that there is a video chat studio with girls talking to men online right there, outside that window?
I'm sure.
In fact, there's about 10 or 15,000 women
you.
in this city who do that
The
job
fact that you-
now. And the fact that I had
Andrew.
I dipped my toe in it 10 years ago isn't even significant.
I'm only asking if you think it's moral.
Do I think it's moral?
Because you speak in such a morally self-righteous way now. Do you think that that was moral?
Well, I wasn't religious back then, but let me sit and
Because you're now you converted to Islam.
Yeah, correct.
You're a Muslim.
Correct.
They have a code
Correct.
of behavior. Do you think that fell short of
I
that
have to
code?
answer as a professional. And as a professional, I would say, judging by my current code, no, I do not think that women being naked on the internet is moral. However, there is...
So you made money immorally. You can admit that.
It's nuanced like all things, Piers. At the time I was atheistic, I know that some of my girls talked men away from suicide. A lot of men are ridiculously lonely. I would also say a lot of the lessons I know about men and how they think and how lonely and sad they can be and how difficult life is as a man actually came from that era, because I saw a lot of very successful men with a wife and with kids and with money pouring their heart out to some 20-year-old they never met about how sad they were. I learned a lot about the world, and I know that a lot of suicide was prevented, and I made a lot of women millionaires. But would I do it now? No. However, I'm in a very different situation now. I'm a different person. I'm religious. I'm also extremely financially successful. Please understand, Piers, I come from Marsh Farm, Luton. I came from one of the worst areas inside of the UK. I could have stabbed someone. All of my friends were breaking into cars, breaking into houses. Most of my friends were in jail. What did I do? I promoted accounts on the internet.
You made money.
Didn't sell crack. Didn't sell drugs, didn't rob anyone, didn't shoot anyone. And now, because I am successful, I'm going to be held to this moral standard by people who grew up in fancy homes with white picket fences and went to private schools.
Well, no, actually...
I am from Marsh Farm, Luton, and the biggest crime I committed was completely legally promoting internet profiles.
Right.
There are people around me who did far
Actually, you're only going to be held
for far less.
No, you're only going to be held to the standard of...
I mean, bro, you were basically doing OnlyFans before OnlyFans, if we're completely being honest here.
The religion you converted to, which you've already
when you take
said,
the Shahada, all your former
and then another thing. I don't like it when I don't like the fact that, like, I'm not Muslim. I'm actually Christian. I don't like the fact that it's so easy for people to just it's so easy for people who are online personalities, like, let's just say Aiden Ross, Sneeko, and of course the top G himself. It's so easy for them to use, like, being like Muslim as a, like, trend. You know, it's so easy to, like, disrespect their religion or their culture by using it as a way to make it look like, you know, you're basically trying to be cleansed and be in a format of, like, just doing everything in a honest way, but you're just using their religion as a front. It would be the same. It's the same way when Andrew Tate was Christian. It's like you're not really subscribing to being a Christian. It just sounds cool to say that, hey, I'm a Christian. Hey, I'm a Muslim, and oh yeah, every other thing that's not honest and clean is haram. Like, I think that's one thing that bothers me about it's one thing that bothers me about any one of these social media personalities is when they use religion as a trend. I'm like, I'm not even Muslim, but if I was Muslim, I would be offended that these celebrities are using my religion as a storefront advertisement to make it seem like my religion is cool when Muslim people don't need uh Muslim people don't need just random like validation from internet personalities or celebrities or anything like that, because as long as they believe it's true, why do they need you trying to pedal after and like, you know, slut out their practice and their religion and like try to market it as for yourself, you know? You're not living with yourself completely if you're mocking somebody's religion. That's basically what I'm meaning. So yeah, that interview, that's only part one of that interview. Um, if you're still rocking with me, I want to also get into the interview with Piers Morgan actually interviews Tristan Tate as well. Thankfully, this is not as there's a part two to this Andrew Tate interview, but I do not think I want to get to it because they're basically talking about Palestine and Israel, and I don't think I want to get into that so much so because it's like as you could see when I was talking about how I feel about Andrew Tate and him being Muslim. I don't really think I want to sit through him giving his perspective of trying to understand what is going on with, you know, in a place where that war goes far past any of us even truly understanding what's really what's going on and who's really being affected by it. So I'm gonna just go to the Tristan Tate interview, and this is actually less than an hour. This is 33 minutes and 18 seconds. We're gonna break this one down, and then after that, just end the stream, give my perspective, and then just end the stream.
Tristan, first of all, your reaction to that extraordinary interview I just finished with your brother.
I think that was one of the best interviews ever conducted with Andrew. I don't know how hard you're going to go on me, so perhaps I'm making mistakes saying
I'm
this.
gonna be honest
like
with you.
Challenge your guests. I like how
I'm gonna be completely honest with you and say I know less about Tristan Tate than I do about Andrew Tate. He's the one I don't really know about. I don't really know about this guy right here.
very impartial opinion on people. You don't judge things one way or another before you go into the interviews. And I think that made the interview with Andrew very interesting. I'm very excited to see the public response.
I mean, like I said to him, I'm not here to convict you or otherwise. I don't know if you're guilty or not of the charges laid against you. We'll establish that in a trial or otherwise. I mean, it may not even go to trial.
No, it might not.
I mean, it seems to me there's been an interesting relaxing of restrictions against you and your brother, really, from the time you were put in prison at the start of the year. What do you read into that?
Well, if you understand how the Romanian justice system works, again, I have to be very careful what I say. The pressure to put us in jail comes from not organizations. There are many great people who work at organizations like DCOT, which is the organization investigating us, but it comes from individual prosecutors who I am very much a trophy for, I would say. So the absolute obsession with putting me in jail comes from these people, but these people have nothing to do with judges, you see. At the end of the day, if you investigate me for a year and a half, throw me in jail, drag my name through the mud, eventually you're going to have to come up with a file of evidence and show it to a judge. So the people who keep letting me go are the people who've seen that file of evidence and don't have a motivation to keep me in jail. So that's it broken down as simply as I can.
In the BBC report of the prosecution files, they quote you as saying about the women who worked on your webcam business, I'm going to slave these bitches. I'm going to make them work even more hours and hours and hours. I work these bitches like slaves. Slave work, minimum 10 or 12 hours a day.
That is not true at all. So
you never said that?
No.
Or you said it sarcastically?
No, I didn't say it sarcastically at all. That is about my ex-girlfriend cleaning my house. So what you have to understand is when you go through a man's phone, you have 4 years and hundreds of thousands, millions of messages to everyone he's ever spoken to. Now, this is about human trafficking, my accusation. So anyone coerced, anyone forced, anyone tied up, anyone kidnapped, anyone sold, anyone moved, none of that is in any of my WhatsApp conversations. But DCOT and the prosecutor essentially can eliminate parts of the conversation that he says are not relevant. Now, if you look at the timings between the messages on all these conversations that look very bad, he's deleting various things, a lot of LOLs and a lot of ha-has, because believe me, if you were to read mine and my brother's conversations, even right now, you could probably accuse me of conspiracy to commit murder because of the stupid things that we talk about. I was talking about
conspiracy to commit murder.
I mean, Andrew, I'm going to kill you when I get home. Like things like this, which can be used, in a very negative way.
But you accept you've used language about women.
Loads. I've used worse language. But
how do you feel about that? Now it's all been laid bare.
Well, it's very unfortunate that I think this conversation is 3 years old. I think our house was messy after a party, and I was saying, "Oh yeah, she's my slave. Don't worry, I'll get her working."
Do you regret using language like that?
No, I don't, because
really,
well, last week my daughter's mother sent me a photo of her drawing on the wall with crayons. And I said, ha, 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 I'm going to kill her when I get home. Now, you could delete the ha, ha, ha because you feel that's irrelevant because you're the prosecutor, and you can arrest me and all my friends and throw me in jail for conspiracy to commit the murder of children. You could do that if you wish. That's not the way I meant it.
No, but I'd ask a different question.
Yes.
I would say when your daughter grows up,
yes,
how would you like it if another man spoke about your daughter by saying, I'm going to slave the bitch, I'm going to make her work even more hours and hours, I work this bitch like a slave. If someone said that and you saw it actually in a message.
Trying to hold that man's feet to the fire.
How would you feel?
Well, that's not the best message to have sent. And, there's lots of...
So you regret it?
He's very well spoken, though. I can't lie.
I regret that.
You either regret it or you don't.
No, I don't. I regret that it became public because, the way men speak to each other, if I were to go through all of your WhatsApp messages, I don't know what I'd find. And I also
you wouldn't mind if a man spoke...
He is right about that, though.
She's older, you wouldn't mind.
Men talk crazy.
Of course I would mind, but it depends on
especially when it's your friends or your
brothers.
The girl
I was talking about cleaning my house at the time, I'm no longer with her. And also,
cousins or uncles.
Not about anyone who's listed as
we do talk crazy.
It's a very important distinction to make. The girl I was talking about, I was very in love with at the time. I had a very great relationship with at the time. If you say to your girlfriend, "Oh, come here, I'm going to spank you." That's not, if you're her coworker or you're a man who's stalking her, it's a very different context to if you're her boyfriend.
The problem is that in the context of what you've been accused of,
yes, the prosecutor can make it look bad.
This looks damning.
Of course, but what he doesn't do is he doesn't show the whole conversations to any judge. That is a carefully manipulated and edited and actually constructed conversation, as all of the conversations are.
This whole lover boy thing, right?
Oh boy, bringing up the lover boy thing again.
Basically, you're two good-looking, fast-talking, smart guys, right? And
Ted Bundy mechanism.
Plenty of money, and you've enjoyed yourselves, fine.
Yes.
And that you've managed to, deliberately or otherwise, but the suggestion is deliberately, persuade a lot of women to fall in love with you very quickly, and then you use that relationship and how they feel about you to then guide them towards making money from webcams.
Well, that's interesting. Of the 7 women that you've listed, none of which we can name, do you know how many of them ever worked at my old webcamming business I had many years ago? Of the 7 victims listed, how many of them?
Okay. I think I'm starting to connect the dots here. Maybe, just maybe, the webcam business is not Andrew Tate's business, but it's Tristan Tate's business. And Andrew Tate was in on it. It's actually Tristan Tate's business. And Tristan Tate is connected to Andrew Tate, and Andrew Tate's name is connected to the website. Okay. It starts to kind of make sense now, because he's not really asking him any other types of questions. He's just asking him all about the case, which he was asking Andrew about the case, but they were skipping around and talking about other things outside of the case. but he's literally strictly asking Tristan about the case and the case, the webcam business and everything like that.
Webcam studio. The answer, Piers, you'd be surprised to know, is zero. People on the internet, I call them Twitter detectives, not the police, not DCOT, not even this over-ambitious prosecutor, because there are webcam studios all over the city, has tried to make any criminal complaint about that small business that me and Andrew, as he said, dipped our toe in. I was mainly running it, to be fair, all those years ago. None of these people who are alleged victims today have anything to do with the webcam studio. But if you watch clips on Twitter,
so it sounds like he's saying they're being swatted by.
Oh yeah,
people.
I'm pimping because I'm in the club with a bunch of girls. When we speak that way, it's easy to say, oh look, he's admitted, he's confessed to his crimes. The old webcam studio and the current investigation have zero strings in between them. So the question in and of itself doesn't make sense if you understand that.
You could face further time in jail if you're convicted of these offences, a long time in jail. You were in jail earlier this year. What was that experience like for you?
Jail was, when you're going through something really difficult and it's almost unbearable, whether it be a difficult gym session or, a major setback, and you come out after it's finished. And the moment it ends, you're like, yeah, I'm glad that happened. Jail was hell every single day. But the moment we got that phone call saying a judge who's now seen the evidence that they've allegedly raised against you has decided to release you, I was very happy for the experience. I'm very happy I spent 3 months living in those conditions.
What did you find out about yourself?
I didn't find out anything new. I feel like it was my opportunity to show to myself and to my brother and to the world that I am the man who I say I am. I always preach being mentally strong, physically strong. I put on this tough guy persona, but I don't think
so. Basically, like your brother.
If I can survive 3 months in a Romanian prison without incident, without tears, without being upset.
You didn't shed any tears?
I did not in jail.
What is it with this? With these dudes not crying?
Anger. He was more angry than I was.
Come on, man.
Whereas me and Andrew are very balanced.
Acting like y'all ain't got emotions, bro.
We
Come
keep
on.
each other in check. When he's angry, I calm him down. When I'm angry, he calms me down. I believe Andrew was a lot angrier at the situation. Andrew knew a lot less about the situation. I can at least read some Romanian. I was trying to make sense of it all. He was sitting there in pure frustration.
But they're serious criminal charges.
Well, they're serious criminal charges. But what I would say to you is, what is the serious criminal evidence? So again, this is from I'm going to work this for hours. It's about a girl cleaning my house, by the way. So this is the big bombshell, the BBC, because I don't know how they got the indictment, but the indictment should be private. I'd love to give you a copy. I really would. But the criminal indictment isn't what the prosecutor says I've done. It's the evidence against me. So if the BBC have read their grubby little fingers through all of this evidence and all the files, and the worst thing they have to come at me with is, Tristan, you said this girl's your slave. I've said that. I've said worse things.
Have you ever coerced women?
No, I've never coerced anybody into doing anything they don't like.
Do you accept them, as I said to Andrew, that some of the language, even in the things he tweets now, suggests that his idea of how women should be treated is that they effectively are a form of slave to a man?
Piers, I really like you, and I sometimes feel you fall for Andrew's little traps, and it's really wonderful.
Because he's playing a character, bro.
It's not the things he says. It's
the way
how
he says it. Exactly. That's what I said.
When I was listening to your interview about women shouldn't work and be taken care of, etc., it actually took me back about 12 or 13 years to an interview I saw. I can't remember. I think it was on ITV with the late Christopher Hitchens. You probably knew him.
I did.
I did not know Christopher Hitchens. I think he died way before I became relevant. But he was sitting there with this female journalist, and he's saying his exact words were, "Oh, I don't want Mrs. Hitchens to be coarsened in the labor market. Why would I want my women coarsened in the labor market? No, if she's with me, she can work if she wants, but she doesn't have to." Now, he was not labeled the world's biggest misogynist. He was actually hailed as an intellectual this time. I read all of his books. I used to be a big fan of his. But he said exactly the same thing Andrew said. Exactly the same thing with different intonations and different tones. And you probably knew him. You didn't attack him back then for saying that, did you? But Andrew,
well, I'm not here to judge.
He can get people riled up.
Christopher Hitchens is no longer with us, sadly. He was a brilliant man in many ways. I disagree with him about many things, but he's not why I'm here, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
It just seems to me that the rhetoric, particularly by Andrew, but also some of the stuff they found with you, the way that you talk about women may be part of the problem you found yourselves in here. And from Andrew's recent tweeting, there's no sign to me that he is is aware or
Meaning,
self-aware
yeah.
of quite how some of this stuff comes
Or
out.
even
And
apologetic,
maybe
honestly.
that has been part of the problem here with you guys.
Well, again, when you look at Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate and you try to label them misogynists, you gender the argument. If I were accused of anything else and they were to read the conversations, which they did read, by the way, between me and my friends, the insults we give each other, the threats we make to
Would
each
you
other.
think a woman's place is at home serving her man?
No. I believe my woman's place is at home serving her family. I serve my family.
But she
too.
shouldn't go to work.
She wouldn't have to if
But
she didn't want to. If I wanted her to and she wanted to, and we agreed.
If you wanted her to.
If we agreed as a family.
What if you don't want her to, but she does?
Well, in the same way that if I was working a normal job and I got a promotion, that would mean that I move out of the city or we move as a family. We'd sit there and discuss it as a family. I don't believe that there's one rule for every single family. I don't. See,
yeah, but Andrew does.
I don't see in the future my woman working. No, because I think I could take care
That
of
man doesn't have to answer
I
for
don't think you'd be with
Andrew's,
a woman who
Andrew's words,
right?
bro.
I've been with women who worked.
And how did that go?
Wonderfully. I've had some absolutely wonderful relationships.
Well, doesn't that prove the point that this whole idea a woman has to stay at home and
Well,
serve her man is actually a lot of cobblers?
Again, I don't think serve her man was something Andrew specifically said. I would
Well, he
phrase it.
did. I mean, that's why I read that whole tweet.
Well, Andrew's not me and I'm not Andrew. What I would say is a woman serves her family.
Are you different in your outlook on that?
Me and Andrew are very different. Me and Andrew are very different people.
Rolling Stone, in a profile, said this about
Rolling Stone.
Their relationship dynamic is very odd. It's like Tristan is held captive by Andrew and believes or follows everything Andrew says.
You say he's a
I
slave.
don't believe or follow a lot of things that Andrew says or does. I get asked every single day to counter.
Tristan definitely is like the
woman's name. I could tell you some horrible stories about the people.
He's different from Andrew.
The things Andrew says and does. I mean,
what don't you like about his views?
Well, the major one, when people say, "Oh, Tristan, now that you've converted to Islam," I'm like, "I haven't converted to Islam. Who says I converted to Islam? No, I'm an Orthodox Christian. I have not converted.
Oh, okay.
What do you think of his conversion?
And I think that it's not my place to even comment on it. Now, some of the greatest religious discussions
that's probably why he was Christian. That's probably why Andrew was Christian in the first place.
Most of which he covered in prison. And we sit there and discuss these various ideas, but I believe that individual religious conviction is exactly that. It's individual. And I don't believe whether I'm his brother, whether I'm his son, mother, uncle, I have no place to tell him what his religious conviction should be, just as he has no business to tell me mine. So I'm happy for him because he's become a happier and better person.
Are you rivals?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. But in the best and most healthy way. I can't.
Why would you ask that? Are they rivals? Just because he's Christian and Andrew's Muslim?
Drinking and relaxing and partying while he's on his laptop working.
Do you ever fight?
No, never. We never argue.
You never physically fight?
Oh, we used to physically fight all the time. We're both professional athletes, so we used to beat each other up in the ring for sparring.
Who would win?
Oh, Andrew would win. I was good. I was the European champion at my peak, but Andrew was built for Andrews. I mean, see my broken nose? It leans this way. First time it was broken was by him, and it got weaker after that, and I had it broken twice subsequently in kickboxing matches. But yeah, we are rivals in the way that we inspire each other to work better and to be better, but not rivals in any way that his success would upset me or my success would upset him.
When you were in jail together,
yes.
So for a period of that 3 months.
Yeah, Tristan Tate is definitely not playing a character.
For about half of it.
What did you talk about?
Or at least it doesn't feel that way.
And you're thinking we may never get out of it.
Lots of things. Books, religion, the case, obviously, explaining, trying to understand.
When you're in a cockroach-infested tiny cell together,
yes,
you've gone from being the top G and his brother with your Bugattis, your cigars, the lifestyle, the women, and so on, to literally nothing in a very degrading environment that you find yourself in, and you've got no idea how this plays out or how it ends, or even if you get out. I mean, that's a big moment.
Yeah, I guess it is a big moment, but I always knew that we were going to be okay. You know, even when I was separate from him, I wasn't worried that he was banging his head against the wall or self-harming or doing anything stupid. Again, he wasn't worried about me. We obviously weren't worried that the other brother, and I know you can't share in this conviction, I know he's not a criminal. I know he has no skeletons in his closet and no criminal past. He knows exactly the same about me. So we were very relaxed. I guess in jail, I was more relaxed than I am now, because in prison, I assumed that the prosecutor, whose job by the Romanian constitution, by the way, he's not a district attorney like in the United States, where he is.
Okay, yeah, this guy knows more about the case.
The prosecutor's job
knows more about the case and he understands the case
of the situation. So I was sitting in jail, relatively relaxing. Well, this is going to end any day now. Human trafficking. This is stupid. It's not going to happen. Like, we're not going to sentence me to jail for this. It was only when I got out that I learned the true motivations behind this. that made me actually more worried than I was in jail. So in jail, I was relatively relaxed. Trained every day, ate their horrible food, did my push-ups. It was all right. Mental break, no electronics.
Did your mother, was she able to come and see you or not?
No. No, in fact,
Could you speak to her?
for some reason, and I cannot tell you why, I was banned from visitors. That includes my daughter, the mother of my daughter. That includes any friends.
Was Andrew as well?
I don't believe so, but no one tried to visit him. Maybe they were rejected at the prison gate. I don't know, but I was, at one point, it's on file, it's on paperwork. At one point, I was banned from receiving visitors.
Could you make calls?
Yeah, there was some phone time, but I didn't make a single call while I was in prison. I spent 3 months without speaking to anybody.
Other than Andrew?
No, only my lawyer, actually. Only my lawyer.
And did you get into similar physical threatening situations that he did?
No, I mean, Andrew had like a few Mexican standoffs, let's say, but I think that jail is a world of realities, and lots of tough guys, whether they be Romanian or British or American. Nowadays, the tough guy move is, you've offended me, I'm going to use my phone, I'm going to call the boys, and the boys are going to come beat you up. I think that is the standard operating procedure in lots of the world. I mean, as Andrew said, I come from a council state. I understand this very well. When you walk into a prison cell, that's not the reality. The reality is, if I start a fight with this guy, it may be 10 to 15 minutes before anyone shows up. And I'm a 6'4", 17 and a half stone former kickboxer. Everyone knows me. Everyone knows I'm a professional athlete. So I actually didn't have any problems at all. I would say that everyone was very kind and very respectful to me. Not just because they were intimidated by me. No, absolutely not. Because there were some guys in there who I should have been intimidated by. But I give respect, and I think I receive it back, and I did okay.
Is it wrong for me to say that like Tristan Tate is pretty normal sounding versus his brother, who is obviously in character mode and doesn't know how to turn it on, doesn't know how to turn it off most times, even in a serious capacity? Because Tristan Tate hasn't like got into any like of the jailbait aficionado dictionary plated words that start to trigger the way Andrew Tate does with his words.
In that environment.
People often say, and it's certainly true from people I've interviewed over the years, that you're a product of your environment, particularly of your parents.
Yes.
In a November 2011 Facebook post, your father, Emery, wrote that the eternal problem of the alpha male was protecting his flock of women. He said, the times I struck a woman, brackets, in passion, I never left a mark, no trace, hyper control, super control of a human animal. They love me still.
I've never heard that before in my life. I'm smiling, man, because I can imagine his voice saying it.
You can.
I can imagine his voice saying it. The only times I've struck a woman, in brackets, in passion. Have you ever struck a woman in passion, Piers?
No.
You haven't?
No.
Not a little spank?
Neither have I.
Well,
once.
Let's keep this
Like you mean,
I love you, Piers, but I'm saying, like, I understand how you're trying to phrase this.
No, I don't
and
understand.
Again, my father is dead and can't
No,
defend himself.
I'm not trying to phrase it in any way. I'm just curious what you think he meant by that.
I honestly don't know. I mean, keep in mind, my father died when I was 27, and that post was written a long time ago. I've never heard it before. I've never seen it before.
But what kind of father was he in terms of the values he instilled in you and Andrew?
Oh, he was a wonderful man, and he was a very protective man over his family and the people he cared about. I mean, they got divorced many, many years ago, but even with his dying breath, he would have jumped in to fight 10 men to defend my mother and her honor. That's the kind of guy he was, super protective and super, involved in everyone he loves life, even if he was far away. The phone calls were constant, the emails were constant, and he held us very accountable as young men.
Andrew tweeted last year, my dad was a chess genius, CIA operative. My mother was a dinner lady. They had nothing in common. Dad said she fed you boys healthy meals every day, cleaned the house, and was largely quiet. I loved her very much. That's literally all men want.
Are you asking if that's an accurate description of my parents' relationship?
Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah. But my mother was a wonderful mother. See, I don't think.
But they split up.
Of course they did. But that does. Well,
So when he says that's literally all men want,
they split up way before I was old enough to understand marriage or sexual or male or female dynamics. By the way, so I can't even comment on their marriage. What I can comment on is how they were as parents. And what I will say is, I don't look back on my childhood raised in a council estate, on state benefits. You know, I was free school lunches. I don't look back on that and think, oh, my mother was a terrible mother because we didn't have any money. Because I don't think it was my mother's job to I guess, provide as much as my father was doing his best from the United States. But I will look back and say my mother was an absolutely wonderful mother. I had 3 square meals a day. She knew how to manage her finances, didn't smoke, didn't go out with her friends, made sure my clothes were always washed, knew how to mend things. She is.
How does she feel about the fact that both her boys are in this serious legal jeopardy?
Well, you have to understand, she's known us our entire lives, and you haven't. You know, when I was 15, 16, 18, all my friends were selling drugs and breaking into cars. I was down at the kickboxing gym every single day. I would get into the kickboxing ring for 50 pounds after 8 weeks training, just because I found harmony in the discipline that sport gave me. I think kickboxing is massively, largely responsible for keeping.
They have this military, like
never tried to drug
the Tate, like both him and his brother have like this military mindset.
Right. You know, I mean,
military systematic mindset,
and my mother's known that
they
even at my
carried
most
for like a
my
long
most poor,
time.
I would come home to her and sleep on her couch for 6 months, as opposed to do anything illegal, and try to find an honest, good way of legal way, at least, of making money. So
is she worried about you, the situation you're in?
Well, she's not. She's worried about the situation, but she has no doubt in her mind that I haven't done any heinous things against women, especially for money, because it doesn't make sense that after going through what I've gone through and avoiding any legal problems, suddenly I'm worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and I decide that's the time to start trafficking.
When you look at this whole setup of the war room and the generals and I think Andrew said 4,000 people are members now.
Yes.
When I saw the web chat logs and so on, he says a lot of that isn't true. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see whether that's verified or not. But a lot of the language that's used seems to be that people are being encouraged to spend all this money to join a kind of cult where they are encouraged to treat women.
Now, this is the question you should have asked in.
Absolutely not true. One, I don't.
But that's what comes over in these.
One, I believe the screenshots you've seen are fake. One, absolutely. 2, I would say I'm a member of the war room. The war room has nothing to do with me. I'm just a war room member like everybody else. And I find lots of great help within the war room, whenever I want to do business with somebody, if I want to transfer money to certain countries, if I want to, find somebody who has talents that I don't, to recruit people, to find people to work for me. That's what I use the war room for. I don't think any network in the world would exist where men sit around and just complain about women and try and treat women as second-class citizens. I mean, surely it would
be complaining about them. I
wouldn't want to take part.
It's more like there's one of the running themes is to get the woman to tattoo your name on herself.
That's clearly not true. What you've read is fake, and it's made up by stupid journalists.
There's 12,000 pages of it.
There's 12,000 pages. Well, it doesn't matter. It's very easy to find some chat logs and enter little lines into it. I don't think that.
It's also very easy to say. Pages? Yeah, a bit of it was done.
Well, here's the thing. If 4,000 people are talking across hundreds of different rooms 24 hours a day right now since the beginning of our interview, probably 300, 400 messages have been sent inside of the war room. I can't tell you exactly what everyone has said over the last 4 years and what they haven't said. I can't. What I'm saying is, in my experience inside of the war room, that is absolutely not what the war room stands for. That's absolutely not what the war room teaches, preaches, what anyone I know from the war room believes. All the people I know from the war room are happily married men, guys with families, guys with kids, successful businessmen, people who run construction companies, real, honest, great people. And that does not represent us. So I think it's fake.
You guys have preached a message of masculinity, and I'm all in favor of masculinity.
Great.
Many other people have categorized it as toxic masculinity because of the misogyny and so on. Do you feel that maybe you have collectively gone too far in the misogyny, and that has been, again, one of the reasons you find yourself in the problems you're in?
Well, again, when I say
first, the kind of alpha male
what have I
rhetoric.
Said? What have I said that's misogynistic?
No, I'm just asking generally whether you feel that's part of the problem.
I don't think that's part of the problem. I don't think it is a problem at all. I think that when somebody has been speaking on the internet for a decade, you have to understand that, first of all, Lots and lots of content is produced, and it's very easy to cherry pick and to take things out of context.
Yeah.
And number
And
two,
twist
the man
words, yeah.
speaking on the
It's
internet
true.
10 years ago is not the man sitting and being interviewed by you today.
That's a fact.
You know, who I was when I was 25, I fancied myself a bit of a dating coach, used to give people advice on how to meet women and how to pick. That's not how I live now. I'm 35. I'm not 25. You at 25, I'm sure, were very vastly different than you are today. So, you know, I don't think there's a problem with anything I've said, because I've never advocated for anything illegal. I've never advocated for any crime. I do not advocate for drugs. I do not advocate for violence. I do not advocate for any of these things. So if Andrew said that women can't drive as well as men once, like, it's very easy to jump on that and say this man is the world's biggest misogynist because he said X. And I think it's
he said a lot worse things than that. I do think
that was the original reason he went viral.
I do think he said a lot of blatantly misogynist things. I don't think he's even really aware. I don't think he even thinks
It's like
they are.
literally a short clip of a long
clip.
clip.
On the worldview of where you live, because if you were to walk around the country of Romania, the great country of Romania, and you were to talk to people and say some of the misogynistic things you've heard Andrew, me, anyone else in the world say in England that are considered misogyny, the men and the women here would be like, yeah. Huh? What? Misogynistic? What's like?
Yeah, that's not a very good defense.
Well, no, it's not.
The fact that other countries,
I'm not trying to defend myself.
Other countries tolerate it.
No, I'm not trying to defend myself. But the man should go out and work, and the woman should stay home and take care of the family. This is my point. So in England, that's for some reason makes people's heads explode when I say that's how I want to live. I'm happy. I'm not saying
you're perfectly entitled to live how you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you guys have made millions and millions of pounds out of preaching that message, and the criticism is that young, impressionable teenage boys in particular have been led to believe by you guys that the only way to succeed in life is with that dynamic.
No.
Where the man's in charge, he's the hunter, he's the provider, the woman stays at home, she makes herself look good, and her only whole modus operandi each day, a whole raison d'etre, is to get up and make a man feel good.
I'm going to correct you, because I think you're completely wrong about what me and Andrew preach. What me and Andrew preach is a message of masculine excellence. And when you are an excellent man, when you are strong, smart, sharp, all of the things that we tell young men to be, disciplined, then you can find a wife and a woman and a life and a dynamic, 4 wives if you like, and live exactly how you want.
Oh, sure.
I don't tell, yeah, and you can have a wife who's more successful than you. You can date a judge or a lawyer or a doctor.
You do both basically believe women should stay at home and not go to work.
No, I believe that I want my woman at home with my family, and that's the way I wish to live.
However, that's also what you preach. That's also what you preach in your university, right? I mean, you think
I don't preach anything inside of any university.
Right. Well, okay.
No, the university. Sorry, if you're talking about the real world, the online educational platform, which has been attacked and slandered more than me. Keep in mind, I don't own it. It's been slandered and attacked and said that it teaches people how to abuse women. What kind of app would teach people how to abuse women? It's insane. It teaches web design, e-commerce, copywriting, cryptocurrency trading, basic methods of wealth creation, and that's it. It actually has nothing to do with teaching anyone anything about women.
Well,
to the point that women are members. Loads of members.
What about the war room?
Well, the war room doesn't have female members. No, I can explain why that is if you care, but I don't think it's that interesting of a reason. Well, I would say that I don't have, or my brother, or any of the men don't have any business telling women how to be women. You see, we're not misogynists. If we were to get women into a group and say, hey, women, you need to be like this, you need to be like that. No.
Andrew tells women how they should be all the time, including a lengthy tweet I read to him. It was only last week, and that's my point. I read that whole tweet for a reason.
Yes.
It went on and on and on. And honestly, it was just blatantly misogynist.
Yeah, but people can take that or leave it. This is Twitter. That's a public forum.
It doesn't make it not misogyny.
Well,
and you guys, and here's where your massive reach and influence becomes problematic to me. Because I see on the streets, when I walk around in London in particular, the number of kids who come up to me all starry-eyed about the Tate brothers, right? And they're like, top G and blah, 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 blah. But they're being conditioned to think by the constant rhetoric, mainly from Andrew, but I don't think you're particularly that different in your worldview of how women's place in the world should be, that they're led to believe that if a woman wants to go to work, there's something wrong with that. And we're in a very different place now to where we were in the 50s. A lot of women love going to work, love their jobs, they're successful. Often they may be the main breadwinner in the family, right? The whole dynamic has changed. There's no suggestion that there's a repeated pattern of women that go to work that have unhappy marriages or lives or unhappy children.
No, but I believe society's gotten much worse in the last 30, 40 years.
Because of women going to work?
No, not because of women going to work, but because of men losing the agency to discipline the children in the household and to be seen as the figurehead. Now, that's my personal opinion.
The man of the house thing.
That's completely fine. But I will say that on places like Twitter, what I won't do is get any young man personally or speak with young men personally in a personal conversation. Say, hey, you need a woman who you can control and can't go to work and stuff. That is absolutely not what we do. I think Ricky Gervais made a very interesting point about putting something on Twitter and people taking it personally, like it's written for them. It's not written for them. Andrew can live the way he wants to live. And let me tell you, me and Andrew live in very different ways in regards to the way we see relationships, etc.
I can
We
tell.
are very different people.
I can
But
tell
he
by
can
the
live
way
he
you
wants to live
speak.
because
You
one,
talk
him and his
way
girlfriend are
different.
both consenting
You talk
adults, and
way
that's the
different than
prerogative.
your brother.
Two, he's achieved a level of success and masculine excellence
think way
where he has the
different than your
choice of
brother.
picking which type of women he wants to date. I like different types of women. You've achieved masculine excellence yourself, Piers, and you, I'm sure, have a very happy relationship with whichever woman is in your life.
Yeah, but I do believe masculinity is important. I don't like the way it's always constantly reframed as toxic.
Great, we agree.
But I do
I
think
agree
that
with
the
that.
constant stream of misogynist statements, but I'm talking mainly about Andrew, but the constant stream of them, I'm not even sure he's aware of how they come over. That was clear from our interview.
Yeah, well, again, people could take what's put on Twitter and they can either apply it to their lives or not. They can take it personally or not. I don't know how many followers Andrew has on Twitter. Millions and millions of people.
8.2 million.
He's not writing it aimed at women or aimed at men or aimed at
8.2
anyone.
Well, he is.
He's voicing his own opinions about how he lives his
Yeah,
life.
but to a massive audience. To a massive audience.
Yeah, to a massive audience,
And then you
yes.
guys do your YouTube stuff, and that has a massive audience.
We're on Rumble, not YouTube.
Right. I'm sorry, you're banned from YouTube. Right? You're on
Absolutely.
Rumble. You're banned from some platforms. You're allowed back on Twitter and so on.
Indeed.
You know, look, I just think it's, for me, when I look at all the rhetoric, the stuff that I find most problematic, to use the phrase of the buzz phrase of our era,
Absolutely.
is simply where I feel like if it strays into that misogyny, I think you let yourselves down. But you have a good message in many ways. You know, a lot of the stuff, notwithstanding the serious charges you're facing, and we'll have to see how that all plays out. And maybe you both are very different people to the ones you're claiming to be. We'll find out, right? But in terms of your general rhetoric, I find that constant running underpinning theme of misogyny and about where a woman's place should be, that is the problem in terms of the influence on young men. They shouldn't all be walking around thinking that a woman's place is only in the home serving their men. And that somehow their only thought process each day, women, should be, how do I please my man? Not, can I get a fulfilling job or any of those things? But no, you stay at home.
I hate to break it to Piers Morgan, but I mean, there are men who are raising kids right now who have boys that are their children that are using this exact rhetoric, and they have never watched an Andrew Tate video ever in their life. It'd be foolish to think that the Tate brothers are the ones pushing this ideology onto a younger generation of people. This ideology has already been out there for decades and decades and decades. I don't think that the finger should just be wagged at them just because some of their messages get interpreted wrong, because that's the way the internet is. A lot of things get interpreted wrong. A lot of things get interpreted incorrectly, very, very, very incorrectly. Excuse me. From this interview alone, Tristan Tate seems to be the more level-headed one, the more well-spoken, less trolling involved, and more actually trying to defend himself and his brother with all the questions that Piers is asking him. And he does obviously say that, like, hey, me and Andrew are two different people. You know, I think different than him. My selection of words, my whole entire lifestyle is just a little bit different from his. So I mean, I respect the fact that Piers Morgan actually talked to his brother, because there's a magnifying glass now on the whole entire ordeal a little bit more, because he's talking about the case more than Andrew Tate was talking about the case, because Andrew Tate was all over everywhere with everything he was saying.
self-improvement, make yourself look good, obey his instructions, all that kind of
But
stuff.
Andrew talking about the way that he wants his relationships
No,
to work
he's entitled.
he's
entitled to what it does.
advocating and forcing
Don't
for
get
the
me
whole world to see it his way.
Yeah, but that's the delusion. Because
No, because
you can say he only wants that for himself, right? And
tell you
by
what,
the way,
Piers.
he's allowed any relationship he wants. But when you pretend that when he says those things, they're not amplified to literally tens of millions of
but here's why you're
impressionable
wrong.
young men,
But here's why you're wrong.
then you know that's not true.
Well, here's why you're wrong, because you assume that Andrew Tate, for some reason, in this conversation, is the only influencer in the world and the only person people listen to. Because he's not at all.
No,
the internet.
I gotta tell you, he's one of the most influential.
Yeah, no, he absolutely is, and that's great.
And that's the part of his influence that I think is a potentially malevolent.
Great, and it's wonderful and good, and you don't have to like it. But let me tell you, every force has an equal and opposite force somewhere else. So on X,
there's a light in the dark side.
Free speech on that platform. So there are differing opinions on
there
every
are
single
way crazier things being said
life,
on that platform.
How you want to date women, what kind of music you should listen to, what kind of
sure.
Whatever it is. So for every Andrew Tate out there, there's some
crazier
feminist
things being
OnlyFans
said
model
on
who lives
Twitter.
in Florida who makes rap music, who's saying that men are nothing and men are shit. So the people who are listening to Andrew Tate aren't listening to Andrew Tate. They're listening to the internet as a whole. And I believe Andrew's message is, one, overwhelmingly positive, absolutely overwhelmingly positive. And I believe he's a very important mark on that spectrum of opinions that exist out there, because when you delete Andrew Tate, the mean average of people will drift down this toilet of degeneracy and become less like Andrew Tate. He's a professional athlete with a completely clean criminal record, by the way, who's massively financially successful, who's kind, who's generous. He runs his own charity. He's the best brother. He's the best father. He's the best uncle. He's an absolutely wonderful man. And I would love to see more men become like him. So I like his opinions, and I like the fact that he's out there.
Tristan Tate.
All right. That is the end of the Tristan Tate interview. And I'm going to be, like I said, I feel like he was a little bit more... Tristan Tate was a little bit more understanding than, Andrew Tate, who was just like, for the most part, trolling. I mean, while trying to stick in a little bit of real in there. But when you listen to what Tristan has to say, you start to, I guess, understand it a little bit more. I'm about to get on out of here. I don't think there's anything else I need to review. Like I said, there is another part of the Andrew Tate interview, which is a part 2, but they're talking about Israel and Palestine, and I honestly don't want to hear Andrew Tate's opinion of Israel and Palestine. I don't want to hear celebrities take on something as serious as that. So I'm just going to leave it here. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Hopefully y'all enjoy all the meals that you guys are going to have. And I will catch you on the next reaction video. And I am out of here. Peace.